Here we are. Another Friday night episode of the Gig Podcast Live. It is I, Michael Anthony Covinelli, when I'm in Packer Park, Sean Covenall when I'm in Grays Ferry, a.k.a. I Read the Walls. It's me, the original Alleyway Admiral. And across from me, as always, on each and every Friday Night Live, we got Mr. Get It Crackin' Like a Nitrous Tank at a fish show. The 2021 Cherry Hill West Battle of the Beach champion.
Gang, gang.
A.K.A. Young Pay Me. Also, hey, pull that up, Pay Me. I don't know if you caught that one.
I did not.
That's the Joe Rogan reference to Young Jamie.
Gotcha.
So, I'm here.
Good.
I'm way more fully functioning than last week.
Well, yeah, you're not doped up.
No.
And then drunk on top of being doped up.
But I'm one tooth shy of a full mouth.
So you should feel lighter on your feet then.
I do. So, we had discussed, well, you actually really, more than discussed, you forced me.
Oh, Christ.
To watch a few movies this week, which I was able to get to. And I'm not a guy who watches movies. I don't know if you know this about me.
Yeah, you've mentioned, so if I am going to recommend something to you, I'm going to try to either A, make sure that it's like universally phenomenal, or it's going to just like, it seems like it was made to directly appeal to you.
Yes.
Like those are the only two. I'm not going to tell you, I saw this, foreign movie that 6 other people have seen and you should sit and watch it and pay attention to the whole thing. But if there's a movie about guys who just got out of jail that are riding BMX bikes, I'm going to tell you all about it.
And if they're writing graffiti, make sure that you that's right in my lane.
Right.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that you don't ever try to recommend a foreign French film.
Nah, I know better at this point. I'm not going to try to sell you on...
No Sundance winners. Although, you know what? Usually the Sundance Film Festival movies, or like usually the documentaries that say Sundance Film Festival on them, are usually pretty solid.
They're usually pretty good because anybody can make a documentary. But
Correct.
For your documentary to be so entertaining that people want to award it something, your documentary may not be super accurate, but it's going to be really well presented. So if you feel like it, now that we're on that path, there's another documentary where you saw these two called Shred.
Okay.
It's about this guy out in Colorado who went nuts and basically reinforced a bulldozer with cement and just destroyed the town because nobody could do anything about it because it was cement reinforced. It's an interesting documentary to take a look at.
Well, what did he reinforce with cement? Like the cab?
The whole thing, the entire thing. He built sheets of metal with concrete in the middle. Excuse me. And he just assembled this entire tank. It wasn't a tank.
Bulldozer.
It was a bulldozer. Yeah, it was a Komatsu. It was a big ass Komatsu.
Oh.
And he just reinforced the entire thing, and he went ape shit on the whole town because he got.
Well, that's what I was gonna. That's why. Now, what was the catalyst?
So
that made him decide he was going to bulldoze an entire town.
All right, here we go. So if you just watch the documentary, this is how it's going to be presented. He's this guy. He gets out of the Army. He goes to Colorado. He sets up a little muffler shop. He's a welder. He was a welder in the Army.
Which explains why he's so
adept at what
artfully was able to...
He becomes like a sort of a town legend kind of guy. Like apparently there's a lot of snowmobiling in the area, and everybody brings your snowmobile to him because he'll weld on bumper bars and things like that. Like he's really well respected.
Freestyle snowmobile.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
He's well respected. The people really like him. He's got his little shop in the back of this industrial park, and in the industrial park, there is no sewage. There's no sewer, so everybody has whatchamacallit. What's it called?
Wells.
Well, not wells. Well, yeah, wells and
the other
tanks.
thing. Septic tanks.
Septic tanks, thanks.
Correct.
So the town decides that they're going to take this industrial park and put it on the line with the sewers. But they tell all the people in the industrial park, you have to pitch in on this. And he doesn't want to. And his decision to not want to starts this series of dominoes that basically makes him feel like the entire government and the town are out to get him.
Right.
And there's nothing left for him to do but avenge this treatment. And that's when he spends his time secretly building this tank and then goes through the town destroying the town.
Here's what I like about him. See? Now this guy is he lost it at some point, right?
Yeah.
But the man's got discipline. And I respect his discipline because instead of losing it and snapping and being like, fuck this, I'm in Colorado and I'm going to fucking shoot up a movie theater because that's usually what they do in Colorado during Batman.
Right. Yeah, that's a big thing.
He, took his time and created a weapon of mass destruction, if you will. A very blue-collar weapon of mass destruction.
Super duper blue-collar. He,
Not smart enough to make an atom bomb or
right.
maybe, a biological weapon of war.
Yeah.
He took what he knew and made a weapon of mass destruction with it.
So the whole time he's making this thing, he's recording audio tapes of him talking through it and talking about his motives and all this stuff.
Oh, he recorded it.
He recorded
a
whole
I fucking
bunch
like
of
this
stuff.
guy.
And he gets to a point where he's basically explaining that God told him to do this.
Of course.
And not only did God tell him to do this, but where he's building this monstrosity inside of an airplane hangar type of situation. But behind sheets.
Okay.
And he says 3 different times inspectors came in to look around because they were trying to sell the property.
Right.
And no one ever pulled this sheet back to look, and all they would have to do was move the sheets and they would have seen this and been like, what the fuck is happening here?
Right.
And he's like, and that was just God protecting me so that I could carry out my mission.
Yeah.
So he went completely bananas over this, but
because if the neighborhood's against you, the only guy that you really got left on your side
is God. And the only answer is not to pack up and leave, because apparently the other thing is he had done really well with his muffler work.
Yeah.
And he was financially, that was part of the thing that was weird to me. Financially, this would not have hurt him to pay his portion to become part of the sewer line.
Right.
It's not like he was scraping by and they asked him to go in the hole. He had wound up with 3 shops running at once. He was doing fine and could have afforded this, but he did not want to do it.
Well, they were trying to railroad him into it. Listen, I to some extent, right? Now I haven't watched the documentary either, right?
Right.
And Fat Keller called it Killdozer, which is a wonderful.
Well, that's
what he called it, the Killdozer.
That's the name of the book that the documentary was based off of.
Okay.
Killdozer. Yeah.
Okay, so I kind of side with this guy a little bit because I can relate to him being railroaded into this.
Right.
You have to pay for the sewer. Bruh, I don't give a fuck about the sewer.
Right.
I'm fine with my septic tank.
Right.
I'm fine with the money I'm making. I don't want to put up 10 grand so you guys can do whatever you want to do. This is not my vote, which is why in a democratic society, it works out well in the overall picture, but you get an individual frustrated sometimes.
Sure. And
so I can feel for this guy.
I respect the frustration. I respect the idea that you were good. You don't know why you have to come up with the money. You were fine the way it was.
Right.
You didn't ask for change.
Right.
But to me, that's when you leave. That's when you go, okay,
well, yeah,
I don't want to
also
be a part of this anymore. I'm just going to go. This is a town of 60 people. It's not like...
Right.
He's not leaving Hollywood and giving up the movie game.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If he left,
right,
there's no movie.
Yeah,
there's no documentary if he leaves. And you know what? I was thinking about... This is funny, actually, because I was thinking about this. Why did it come up? Oh, I was watching... my partner in crime, Galvone, has been playing Michael Franchise. You know, Michael Franchise has a YouTube channel now.
Okay.
Because why wouldn't he?
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Everybody does, like us.
Yeah. So he has a YouTube channel where he does kind of like podcast-esque, slash, what's the word? Lectures kind of things.
Like
right?
TED Talk type stuff?
Kind of, but, like a mobster giving a TED Talk about mob shit.
Right.
Well, Mondays is Mob Movie Monday Review, right?
Okay.
So he was talking about the movie Shot Caller, which is a movie that I happen to have seen, as I'm sure you could have guessed. And it was about this guy in the Aryan Brotherhood. And have you seen Shot Caller?
I'm looking to see.
First question, have you seen Shot Caller?
No, I don't think I have.
All right, this guy gets locked up on like a DUI.
Okay.
He's like a banker or some shit, right?
Oh,
or like a mortgage salesman.
So he's like Beecher and Oz?
I never watched Oz.
Oh, really?
I started to watch Oz, and I didn't get far enough in to really know what was going on.
Oh, okay.
I always think to myself, I should revisit Oz.
It's a really good show.
But when I tried watching it,
hit too close to home.
No, Sadie was still sleeping in our bed.
No.
And so I would try and put it on at night, and Steph's like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Nope.
I'm like, "No, I'm not." She's got to learn about this stuff at some point, babe. So, anyway, this guy is a like a mortgage broker or some shit like that, some white-collar job. He kills a guy in a drunk driving accident, winds up getting manslaughter, going to California State Prison. California prison is highly segregated by race and prison gang, right?
This is exactly Beecher's story in Oz.
Right.
I wonder if that's on
maybe
purpose.
they took it. Yeah, maybe they took it from there. So he winds up getting into the Aryan Brotherhood and like climbs the ranks of the Brotherhood. And at one point, he can cooperate with the cops and his PO, or he can get another 50 years locked up in solitary confinement. And he gets locked up in solitary. He chooses to be locked up in solitary. So I started thinking about this, right? And I respect it, right? Not because he wasn't a rat. Like, you probably should have ratted, asshole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got a wife and kids out there.
Right.
You should have, the gang had not done right by him. They were, like, trying to kill him at one point and all types of silly shit. Like, he should have really just turned cooperative. He should have been cooperating.
Okay.
But here's the thing is that, like, there's guys who look at their life and live inside of their life and make the choices they need to make their life the best they can. Whether those are hard choices or easy choices, they're living inside of their life.
Okay.
And then there's guys who live inside of history who say, if I do this, like, this is really going to suck for the next 50 years while I'm locked in solitary confinement.
Right.
But I am going down in the annals of gang history for doing this and keeping my mouth shut and taking these 50 years of solitary confinement on the chin.
So
So our man with the killdozer,
right,
he could have just quite as easily packed up shop, opened another muffler shop down in Texas or Florida, one of these places where they let you do whatever you want,
right,
and don't bother you. But he's a man who was living inside of history and not only inside of his own life. And he thought to himself, like, I could leave or I could become a legend. This is my opportunity.
Terrorize an entire town over 10 grand.
This is my opportunity to become legendary. And he fucking grabbed that opportunity by the nuts.
So what's the value of legendary when you're dead?
The value of legendary is that your legend lives on now forever.
What's the value
Me
of
and
that,
you
though?
die, right?
Right.
Me and you die.
Right.
Our family remembers us.
Sure.
Maybe
For a
our
while.
great-grandkids
they might
hear
have
a
some
story
pictures,
or two.
Sure.
If we do some shit like tear down a whole town with a fucking excavator.
Right.
If we take 95 down with an excavator.
Right.
And a few fucking bricks of, plasma explosive, then now not only do our great grandkids remember us and have a little bit of I wouldn't necessarily call it a badge of honor, but they have a little something to wear where they say, oh yeah, my dad was the turnpike bomber.
Yeah, but so what happens? Like, okay, so the guy Marvin who did the killdozer
and everybody
deal,
else remembers us when we're the turnpike bomber.
But like, so in your scenario, like your kids aren't like embarrassed. Like, hey, wasn't your father the guy who blew up 95? You're like, fuck yeah.
Here's the thing.
That was him.
My kids are embarrassed.
Right.
My grandkids less embarrassed.
Okay.
My great grandkids and on forth, I'm a folk hero.
So all you're counting on is that your story makes the news and that you have at least 3 generations of lineage beyond you.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. These are the guys who think historically.
Okay.
This is historical thinking, and that's what I believe Marvin was doing when he tore down that town with his reinforced bulldozer.
I think if you take a few minutes to watch the documentary and listen to some of the tapes, because all of his tapes are also on YouTube, the audio tapes.
Okay.
You might come to a different conclusion as to why he was motivated to do this versus
it's quite possible.
wanting to be famous.
I'm just, me, I'm shooting from the cuff here.
No, I understand. And there's probably something to that. Maybe even with the shot caller guy, there's probably something to that, to him saying, you know what, my options are keep being in this situation that's bad.
Right.
Go back home where at this point it's going to be like that whole I can't live in the outside world thing anymore because I become a different person in here.
Right.
Or just go in the hole and just perish. Like that's the safe option, right? He's not fighting for his life. He's not struggling to be alive. He's in the hole and no one expects anything from him anymore. And that's that. He's just fading away.
And he's a state prison legend.
Right.
There's guys, right? There's state prison legends from New York State. I've never been locked up in New York.
Right.
You know, but there's legendary characters in New York State Prison that I know about
Sure.
because they decided to live inside of history rather than inside of their own life in prison.
All right.
Mother Deer, for instance, would be the one that comes to mind. And Mother Deer used to knock you out and then suck you off, right? And he wasn't doing it for some sick sexual pleasure.
Okay.
He was doing it for historical legendariness. Every peen he put in his mouth, he was thinking of the history books.
I got to get my count up so I can make the books.
Yeah, because, you knock one guy out and suck him off.
It's
a story that
could have
gets
been
around.
An accident.
Yeah, it gets around.
The fifth or sixth one, you're pretty sure you're committed to it.
You get up into the double digits of fucking knockout suck-offs, bro,
Yeah.
you get legendary. You ask anybody who's done time in Jersey, and
Right.
definitely anybody who's done time in New York, if they know Mother Deer or Mother Dearest, whatever they call him, he's for sure a legend. There's another guy. How about the guy who made up 52 blocks? Remember
yeah.
our thing, right?
The
thing we
fighting-
discussed? Yeah.
The fighting system.
I was trying to talk to Vasil about 52 blocks. He said I might have heard of it, and so I gave him the breakdown. Why was I telling him about 52 blocks?
Because you were talking about his show today, and you were trying to get him prepared.
I was not we were talking about a show. So if you are here listening, there is one person in the live right now. If you're not doing anything it's Prof. So Prof, if you're not doing anything, Voss is hosting a show. Yeah, drive out to Trenton. In about 11 more minutes, Voss is going on stage. I think if you hurry in that brand new Charger, you might be able to make it.
If it's the RT, you should be all right.
But here's the other thing. I think that show goes on. That show is at 10. The doors open at 10 or something like that.
And it's a rap show, so it's not even going to start till 11:15.
Yeah, so if somebody is looking for something to do this evening,
Put us on Facebook on the speakers and the Bluetooth and drive up there.
yeah, Mill Hill Basement. Vasil is hosting. Apparently, it's the new wave of the Mill Hill Basement rappers.
Okay.
Which I don't know any of them
Right.
except for Vasil is the only.
The host.
Yeah, Vasil is the only one I know who's on that thing. But I'm sure at least another one of them is a good rapper.
Yeah, there's got to be.
It's got to be one good rapper in that joint.
There's going to be a best one of the group no matter what.
Yeah, Vasil is performing tonight, Prof, in Mill Hill Basement over there in Trenton. So if you're looking for something to do, you go over there, get a double shot of Henny on the rocks, and listen to Voss rap. Maybe he'll even bring you up on stage to rap with him.
There you go.
Prof always you met Prof.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about Prof. Prof's a
He's
guy.
a hype man?
No.
Okay.
Prof is a guy who will always keep a hot new 16 in his fifth pocket.
Just in the chamber.
In the fifth pocket of his jeans. He's always got one. You don't know that he has it on him, but should he get into a situation where he needs 16 bars, he's got some fly
He's
shit
ready.
for you without
He's
a
ready.
doubt. And I think that stems from being a tow truck driver.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You're
'Cause they're
driving around
always
in the
rapping.
truck. You're you got a lot of time to think.
You're just working it out in your head.
Which is really, that's like probably one of the best things that you could do if you have a driving job is be rapping, because you're not just listening to you're not listening to music or listening to somebody talk to you and kind of just letting your brain soak up whatever's coming at you. You're doing some actual mental exercise in creating a rap song.
When I was younger, I drove a pretzel truck, and so
you're knee deep in the fucking pretzel industry, bro.
I am. So I would be out on the road just driving. I wouldn't even have the radio on because I was always working out music in my head,
Right.
and I would just call, because at the time phones didn't have like voice recorders.
Right.
I would call myself and leave myself voice messages, humming out bass lines and humming out drum beats and things like that, and it was phenomenal for creativity because once you know your route, like it's not like I have to really concentrate on anything.
Yeah.
So I can just concentrate on just working out shit in my brain. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I think I wrote most of my raps on the train or the bus.
Right.
Somewhere. I'll just have the headphones in with a beat and then just kind of be working through it and remember like 8 bars, and then when I got home I'll write those 8 down and then,
work on the next 8.
Work the next 8 out. So I say all of that
to say this.
To say that I watched Survivor's Guide to Prison.
Okay.
And I haven't felt angry at the system in a while. So I appreciate you putting me in a position to let
really
some of that anger
bubble
up from deep inside and just really grab me by the throat
Yeah.
and just remind me how much I hate the government and the American justice system.
If there was ever anybody out there making your case for the prosecutors are bad and everybody's bad and the whole system is bad,
It's Danny Trejo.
it was that documentary, that Matthew Cook who made that documentary was just hammering home all the points that you've made in the past in regards to the brokenness of the system.
Right.
And it wasn't the documentary I was expecting, but it was still a very interesting and informative documentary. And I think the thing that blew me away the most is the idea that some of those people in that documentary were in jail for a long stretch and were completely innocent.
Yeah.
Like, there was no linking them to the crime whatsoever, with the exception of some hearsay from disreputable people.
Right.
Like, it was wild to me.
It brings up the point that we had argued for a good half an episode one time, that the problem is that the prosecutors are going off of wins and losses. They're just trying to get a W.
Wins and losses.
And that is the walking proof that like that prosecutor was like, no, I can win this case.
Right.
And didn't even see or look that here's a 17-year-old kid whose mother died, and didn't fucking connect that he's probably going through hell dealing with the fact that his mother was violently murdered. Yeah. But fuck it, because I'm going to get a W on my case. What a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like, what a
absolutely.
stone-cold scumbag to fucking look at the kid and have evidence proving and linking somebody else to the crime.
Well, it was the cop. The cop was testifying that evidence was not linking the other person, that it was linking him. The cop was lying just to protect his arrest.
Right.
And that's just, before you even get into the problems with jail and how jail functions and how it's not really a good idea in general,
the system is screwed from the jump.
Just the idea, like, so it coincided with, are you familiar with I think it's called the Curb Your Enthusiasm case. So there's this guy out in LA, right?
Okay.
And an ex-girlfriend of his, I think it is, gets violently murdered. And the only person in the area that witnesses it says that it's him. It's this guy. It's the ex-boyfriend.
Right.
And he says, no, it wasn't me. So they arrest him. They don't charge him. They arrest him, and they want to interview him because this person said they saw them there. So they start asking him questions like, where were you on this night? And blah, blah. And he's like, I don't know. So at first you're like, well, that's a fucking stupid statement. But then again, you think about it and like,
I don't know.
Where were you January 3rd, right? Like,
fucking couldn't tell you.
Where were you Wednesday at 9 a.m.? I don't exactly know.
Probably working. Maybe here, maybe there.
Sure.
Right. But yeah, it's going to be tough to pinpoint.
You don't really pinpoint 7 months ago on a random day. It's not like, where were you on your birthday? Okay, fine. I can sort that out. So they use that as evidence of a lack of alibi. He says he doesn't know where he was, so he was probably committing the murder. He's on the cusp of going to jail, of being in jail. And his girlfriend says, wait, I know where you were. You were at a Dodgers game. You were at a baseball game. And he says, oh, shit, that's right. And he produces the ticket stubs.
Oh, And they Spanish dude, Mexican dude or something. Yeah,
and they say, yeah, these are just the stubs. These don't prove that you were there.
And then they go to the cameras.
So the Dodgers say, you can have our cameras. You can have whatever you want from that day. We will allow, you and the police to look through it. Hopefully it helps you.
Right.
They go through it, and they don't find anything.
Right.
There's no video footage of him. There's a guy who looks like him in the section, but, like, you can't tell. And then they realize that Curb Your Enthusiasm was filming an episode there that day.
Right.
So he asked them, can we look at your footage? And they're like, absolutely. If it will help, absolutely. And they found him, like a decent close-up of him, proving him to be there.
Right.
So if that string of coincidence doesn't happen, that he's in there, the girl remembers that he was at the game, and it just happens to be the fucking night that they were filming a TV show there, he's in jail for murder.
Forever.
For murder, probably forever.
Yeah.
Oh, on nothing. They couldn't possibly have had DNA since he didn't do it.
Right.
They couldn't possibly have had more than one person identified him as being there, and that was it.
Right.
So all I got to do is kill someone and say, I saw Sean there, and that's it. It's over.
Right.
That's fucking crazy.
Well, if we were dealing with a system that was a little more honest, Now here, obviously the problem is that we're dealing with a system that is run by people, and people are inevitably not perfect.
I agree with that, but
I
think it's more that we're dealing with a system that's run by money.
Well, also, I think that you put prosecutors in position to their way to a bigger paycheck, because that's what most of America is after, a bigger paycheck for a comfortable life, right? So their way to a bigger paycheck is to win more cases.
Right, which is a flawed metric. Like, that shouldn't be the metric that decides whether or not you're a good prosecutor.
But then what is going to be, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to say what, there needs to be a complete overhaul.
You have a
beyond just like what's the prosecutor going to do different? Like, there may need to be an overhaul to the point that something besides a prosecutor is in place.
Yeah. Well, you
to
have
deal
to,
with this.
You have to. So you have an independent commission, that like an oversight committee. And their job is basically not to determine if you should have won or lost, but is the case that you brought fully fleshed out? Like, you're going to lose some cases because eventually it's going to be up to a jury in most cases, and the jury just might not see it your way. That may happen.
Well,
but did you bring a fully fleshed out case? Did you bring a legitimate case to the table that you were arguing for, or did you, all we really had was this one dirty cop and a kid from 20 blocks away who says he saw it when he was in his binoculars?
Right.
That's not a case that should be in front of anyone at any point in time.
Right.
But we had DNA evidence, we had his hair, we had this, we had that, we had the other thing, but the jury decided that he didn't do it. Then you go, okay, look, you can't possibly expect to win every single case, but you made an honest effort. Like, this case is legitimately presented.
Right.
In front of another jury, you may have won.
Well,
and that should be the determining factor, not your actual board numbers, because then you're right. You're going to start skewing, okay, I can win this one, so I'm going to take it. I can't win this one, so even though it's of value to do it, I'm not going to do it.
I think we also need to remove plea bargains from the table, because, as that was mentioned, and this is a point that I don't think I mentioned when we were arguing this topic, which I'm glad it came up, because it's something that I do know, and I'm glad that it came up in the Survivor's Guide documentary, because they will stack you with 10 or 15 charges of everything they can find. Some of them are the highest charge they can put on you, and some of them are the lowest charge. And what they say is like, okay, we're not going to charge you with murder in the first degree, but we're going to give you a plea deal. If you plead guilty, we'll give you manslaughter, and instead of getting 25 to life, you get 15.
Right.
And then the problem comes in like, no, because I didn't do this.
I didn't do it.
But then the prosecutor, being the pieces of shit that prosecutors are, they get like a chip on their shoulder, like, oh, you're not going to take the plea and give me the easy W?
Right.
Now I'm going to smoke you. Even if they know full well there's not enough evidence to convince, they're, again, chasing the W. So remove the plea bargain. And every case should go to trial to a judge.
Well,
a judge who is respected, elected by the community, and an honorable judge.
I think there's a value to the plea bargain, but I understand what you're saying. I think there is a value to that. I think there are situations where the plea bargain makes sense. But if they're giving you a plea under false pretense, you know, if I think you did it, so if you just say you're guilty of this thing, I'll let you go. That's a really fucking crazy thing to be forced to agree to.
Yeah.
But the other thing that the documentary kind of hinted at, or, you know, at least brought up a little bit, was the idea that, like, you could be offered a plea bargain, accept the plea bargain, and then at the last minute they go, well, that's not really the plea bargain anymore. We're going to go and stick you in trial anyway.
Right.
That's the fuck. You made an agreement with the one group of people that is supposed to be for truth and justice, and they're just like, we got you. Fooled you. Here's the candid camera. Good luck in jail.
Yeah, I'm glad that you watched this and got a secondary opinion.
Yeah.
Because when I was saying all these things, I felt like you were like, yeah, but you got to trust the government. Like, it's our government. You know what I mean? Like, it is, they are so crooked, and there's so little, they deserve so little trust, the justice system. Maybe not the government as a whole. I don't know. I don't, but this is why I stand on an anarchist's box and say, fuck it, let the strong survive.
Well, I didn't like I'm way more towards your side now. But when we were having this conversation before, I was not fully against what you were saying.
Right.
I wasn't
right.
here saying, oh, no. You trust the judges, and the judges will be great.
Yeah.
No, but I'm further to your side now after watching that, for
you
sure.
see it.
For
and
sure.
then, have you watched the Khalif Brower story?
I know it, but I did not watch any particular thing about it.
If you got angry at Survivor's Guide to Prison, you are going to get infuriated at the Khalif Brower story.
This is the kid,
They
right?
mentioned him in that joint, but he has a whole documentary about him, and God bless that kid. And it makes me like I can almost feel sadness and tears welling up thinking about like what this kid went through and how it wound up, how that story wound up, because it's such and there's nobody is going to be taking the blame for what that kid went through and why he wound up hanging it up, because he couldn't deal with the cards that he was dealt after going through what he went through. And this kid was dealing with getting his ass kicked by COs and prisoners and being tortured, and still was like, no, I didn't do this. I'm not going to take a plea. I'm not going to plead guilty. And they were trying to railroad him because he's a young black kid from the inner city. They're just trying to railroad him into taking this plea and saying he was guilty. They were going to give him a plea at one point towards the end of it all and said, we will let you go on time served if you plead guilty to this case.
Right.
And he was just sticking to his guns and saying,
do it.
no,
Why?
I'm not going to plead guilty to something I didn't do. So then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, since they can't railroad him into it, they don't want to bring it to trial. There's too much evidence in favor of Khalif Brower.
Right. There's too much lack of evidence.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So they don't want to bring it to trial. And then he winds up just getting released one day.
Right.
They're just like, oh, well, we can't
we don't know what to do.
We can't break this
We're
kid.
Stuck. Right.
And just to go through all of that just so a prosecutor somewhere can get a win is fucking disgusting. And then because of the PTSD that this kid went through and the fucking being tortured and isolation and COs fucking him up and gang members fucking him up, the kid wound up with such mental anguish that he wound up, the only way out that he saw was to hang it up. And it's fucking terrible. He was like 22, 23, 24 years old, something like that. And he killed himself because of what he went through had just left such a fucking mark in his brain and affected him so badly that he just couldn't do it.
So
somebody needs to be at fault for that, but nobody's going to.
Are you familiar with the Cash for Kids situation that was happening in PA? Okay. So
actually, roughly, I kind of know where you're going, but go ahead. Give me the details.
There's this private prison that's built in PA. It's like Luzerne County or something like that. And the people who run the private prison go to the judges, and they basically financially incentivize them to take kids who really should be going to juvie and press them to be going to regular prison.
Yeah.
Okay. So as this is happening, first of all, that in and of itself is scumbaggery.
Yeah, absolutely.
As this is happening, there's this kid in the area at high school, and he's a top-notch football player. And his dad sees him kind of like, he's a senior in high school. He's kind of getting a little wild with himself, and the dad's like afraid that he's kind of going to lose his scholarship. He's going to go to the wrong party. He's going to wind up doing the wrong thing. So the dad plants some weed in his truck and tells his officer friend, pull him over, give him a little bit of a hard time, but it's no big deal. We're just trying to give him a little scared straight
razz
action.
Him a little
yeah,
bit.
Exactly.
What a way to razz your kid.
Yeah,
you fucking asshole.
Exactly. It winds up in front of one of these two judges, and they send him to the private prison.
Right.
He spends 5 years in there until he gets out. And when he gets out, just like Khalif, he's like, I just can't live under these conditions anymore, and he kills himself.
Right.
So these things, the fact that there was one story like that is horrible. The fact that there's more than one is just a fucking disgrace.
How many don't we know about?
Exactly. Exactly.
So the American justice system needs an overhaul.
Yeah.
Which
we're here for it.
We stand by it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We stand by anything. I don't stand too firmly behind any issues except for maybe giving kids bikes and prison reform. Other than that, I'm right here in the middle.
I saw a suggestion that I think makes a ton of sense, and I can't work out all the details in my head. I've heard it too soon, so I haven't had time. I haven't had my 12 to 2 to really mull it over.
Yeah.
But
maybe we can get you on schedule with that tonight.
The idea that you have similar to like a Medicaid system for attorneys, so that regardless of your financial situation, you can afford an attorney who is the equivalent of the prosecutor. Like, because there's clearly an element of, if you can't afford a good enough attorney, you're just fucked.
Oh, you got no idea.
You're just fucked.
Yeah, you have no idea some of the public defenders that have met with me in a fucking cell behind the courtroom.
Right.
And just I've had conversations where I'm talking to a guy. I can remember this guy. I remember his face vividly. He had glasses and black hair, and he was like this skinny white dude, middle-aged, like maybe not middle-aged, like new to the game, 30s, maybe early 30s. And I'm trying to talk to him about my case, and he was like stumbling over his words, and it was apparent that I would have been better off representing myself.
On your own.
Because this guy was such an idiot that he couldn't have won any cases.
Right.
And it didn't even seem like he had the desire to win any cases. And the other thing is that he's coming from the same office as the fucking prosecutor.
Pretty much, yeah.
You're fucking buddy. You're eating. That's the saying, is like they're eating lunch together.
I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but I understand how that looks like impropriety. Like, I don't have a particular issue with like two friends debating each other over a case. You know what I mean? Like, just because we're really good friends with each other doesn't mean I can't do a quality job of representing someone.
Yeah, but also,
like, am I gonna jeopardize my career just because you're my boy?
No, but I might slide. I might let you slide on something because it's going to help your career grow a little bit.
Okay.
If it's not going to hurt my career.
Okay.
If I'm like, look, this, you need fucking, you need like 5 more W's until they fucking make you senior prosecutor.
Right.
I'm gonna let you get him this week.
Okay.
I got a weed case and a this case, and it's no big deal if these. This guy's a fucking kid from Bridgeton and he's got a poor family and he's fucking done 3 years already. So like whatever, we'll just fucking send him down again.
This is Michael Strahan with the single season sack record, where the final sack that put him over the top was Brett Favre, and Brett Favre saw him coming and just laid down for him, so that he would get up over the top.
Right. So there's problems. There is indefinitely, and I don't think indefinitely is the word, indelibly, indubitably, indistantly, indiscriminately, problems with the justice system, and it's above our pay grade to be able to figure it out. Because besides it being above our pay grade, you're fucking Mr. Get It Cracking like a nitrous tank at a fish show.
That is me.
And I'm the fucking original alleyway admiral. So who's really going to fucking listen to us,
Well, when you're mayor, we should be good with this.
When I'm mayor, when we get a couple 100,000 more followers, maybe we could start fucking making some pushback and make some waves here. But until then, we're fucking blowing steam.
I'm with the gig getting to a level where we are social anarchists. I'm good with that. I really am good with that.
Yeah, I will love it. Here's the thing. And, it is in direct disagreement with what we've just previously discussed for 30 minutes.
Okay.
And that is that I think I might need to go back to the joint.
Oh, okay.
All right. I feel like I'm getting a little bit soft. Maybe look, first off, I can't get abs, right? I just can't do it because there's too many snacks available. Now, I've been doing pretty good this week with cutting back on the snacks, but it's a fucking hairpin trigger. I could go off the deep end at any time and start eating Cocoa Crispies with fucking full marshmallows in them. Because I'll do that. And I would love to do it. I would do it right now, except the marshmallows are gone. So
right, you ate them already.
Yeah, because that's a phenomenal snack. If you take Cocoa Crispies and not... Listen, first off, who are we calling?
No, we're not calling anybody.
Who's on the line?
I was putting a little music in under you.
All right, caller, this is the Gig Podcast Live. Who's on the line? This is my confession.
There you go.
So, first off, you can't buy the American Cocoa Crispies, all right? You have to buy Cocoa Crispy.
Right.
Right? Which, now let me tell you about this, matter of fact, all right? Because I lean you know, I lean center on everything.
Pretty much.
But I'm going to tell you this right now is that the fucking produce system in America not only is prejudiced.
Okay.
But, yeah, they're prejudiced.
Produce.
This old, archaic, prejudiced produce system in America has to be abolished, without a doubt. Now, I walked into the cereal aisle.
Well, that's not produce.
Well, I'm just talking about the goddamn food, the grocery store in general.
Oh, okay, because produce is just the fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, no. The grocery store in general is an archaic, definitely prejudiced system that needs to be overhauled.
All right.
Is where I'm going with this.
I'm listening.
I don't walk into the cereal aisle too often, right? But I had a hankering for Cocoa Krispies. And so I thought to myself, well, I'm going to make my own DIY Count Chocula, right? I had the big bag of all Charms, Lucky Charms.
I see where you're going here.
And I could have put them in Cocoa Puffs, but Cocoa Krispies is my favorite chocolate cereal.
Right. So you're thinking, why pay for the marshmallows at the store when I already have them at home? I just need to bring the crispy part.
I just need the Cocoa Crispy.
Gotcha.
Right? So I go into the cereal aisle, which I don't visit often.
Right.
And I'm scanning, right? And boom, there's all types of new cereals, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's wild cereals that I am unfamiliar with that I would really prefer if they sold them in bulk so I could just take a spoon into the aisle and test each
check
one.
Check them all out.
Yeah, just like lift the lid and take a scoop out.
Just a little sample.
Like a little sample pack of all these new cereals.
Like we're at Pinkberry.
So I see the Cocoa Krispies, and it was the regular size.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck this. I got a full bag of all marshmallows.
You got to go big.
I got to get family size.
Right, because your ratios are going to be off.
So now I keep scanning for family size.
Right.
I don't find immediately the family size Cocoa Krispies. I find the Crispy Coco.
Sure.
Or Choco Crispy.
Right.
Whatever it was, it's the Spanish version of Cocoa Krispies. Made by Kellogg's, just marketed to the Latin folks, to the Spanish-speaking public, right?
Okay.
Now, the family size of Spanish Cocoa Krispies was $4.79.
Okay.
The family size of regular Cocoa Krispies was $5.79.
Okay.
Which I don't know. Now, let me backtrack, right? I don't know if that speaks to the progression of ShopRite or the racism of ShopRite. Now, are they saying that inevitably Spanish people are making less money than English-speaking Americans, and therefore they have to discount the Spanish cereal so that they can afford it? Or are they saying, like, hey, if we mark this price down, maybe we can push English-speaking Americans to buy Spanish-spoken products, therefore kind of abolishing racism just a bit?
I'm going to go out on a limb and
tell me where you stand on this topic, this hot-button topic.
Defend ShopRite just a little bit. And
I figure you would.
I'm going to put this on the manufacturer.
Yeah.
And here's why. My guess is going to be that ShopRite probably has a bulk formula. Okay, in the cereal aisle, we want to make 9% profit.
Yeah.
So every cereal that comes in, it's their cost plus 9%.
Okay.
So the discrepancy in price would come from the manufacturer because ShopRite's just tacking on their ShopRite tax.
Right.
And so if something comes in cheaper, it's going to be cheaper across the board. ShopRite's not going to sit there and say, we're going to take advantage of these people giving us this for less and charge as much as we pay for everything else and just make more profit.
So what you're saying here is that it costs less money for the word processor to print in Spanish than in English.
I'm going to be honest. I'm not a part of Kellogg's. Is it Kellogg's? Are they Kellogg's?
Kellogg's.
I'm not a part of Kellogg's, so I can't speak for their processes, but perhaps it's cheaper to import the cereal than it is to make the cereal up in Michigan.
That could be – that's a sensible direction to go with it. I don't think that I was trying to be a little bit more of like a rebel rouser with this one.
No, I got you.
And, you know, as you usually do –
I want to calm you down a little bit.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't
you
think
brought logic to the situation
it fucks it all
and
up.
pretty much annihilated my chance at starting a grocery revolution.
No, I want you to start this grocery. I mean, Amazon is trying to start the grocery revolution.
Why? What are they doing?
Well, they have a couple of these.
They got the Amazon delivery.
They got a couple grocery stores that have no employees whatsoever.
Yeah.
You just walk in, you have a bag, they know what the bag weighs and what you're supposed to have paid, and then you leave. So you have no, everything's just chaos, but it works. So you want to start your own grocery store? What's the angle? What
do I want to start my own?
Well, that's
grocery
what you
store?
said. You're going to start a revolution.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so there's a Islamic grocery store around the corner. Well, it was once an Islamic grocery store called El Medina.
Okay.
And Medina is a holy town in the Muslim religion.
Right.
I got tight with Ibrahim, who
Okay.
owned El Medina.
Sure.
But I only really stop by there during Ramadan, honestly, right, to get dates or to get a couple mizwak sticks, which are like a chew stick that it's legal to chew those during your fasting hours. So, I went there during Ramadan. This past Ramadan, I showed up, and it was no longer called El Medina.
Okay.
It was called something else, and Ibrahim was not there.
All
right? So there's another guy.
Lost to the system.
And I'm like, hey, bud, what's up? I know the guys you bought this off of.
Right.
What happened? He's like, yeah, I bought it off him. And he's knocking down a wall into the next section of the strip mall, like the next storefront.
He's
expanding.
Grow the size of the store. Yeah.
Now, this guy, I was talking to him. I said, look, I see you got some other stuff going on besides, the Islamic food and items,
right?
Because they would sell like prayer rugs and Qurans and
candles, things of that nature.
Yeah, religious items. He's like, yeah, I'm trying to appeal to, a bunch of different people.
See, just to interrupt you for a second, because that's what I do. I never understand that move. So there's a well-known bread bakery on the Black Horse Pike, Del Bono's rolls.
Love them.
Okay.
I love a corn muffin from Del Bono's. Haven't had one for years. I think I'm about due.
And then there's a pretty well-known deli in the local area called Carmen's.
Correct.
Okay. So Carmen's has had a legacy of making these unbelievable sandwiches. And Del Bono's has this legacy of making these unbelievable rolls.
Yes.
So at some point, one guy comes in and buys both places.
Yeah.
Okay. And completely changes the process on both of them. And as a, I guess, not so savvy business person, I cannot for the life of me understand that fucking move. These places have built themselves a legacy, and you've bought in because you think that legacy is profitable, and your first move is to change that legacy. That guy bought Ibrahim's store because he's like, hey, this store is doing really well. If I buy it, I can continue the profit making. And then his first move is to completely disassociate himself with what was making Ibrahim's store his store in the first place.
Right. Here's the disconnect with the logic on that is that Del Bono's and Carmen's are just that, a legacy.
Okay.
El Medina was a struggling Islamic grocery.
Well,
they weren't making. I'm pretty sure Ibrahim sold it because it wasn't a profitable business.
So you think?
And he was a solid guy. I liked Ibrahim.
Yeah, no,
his brother was cool too. I think I'm out in this year. I hope it's not any issue, other than just my headphones.
Yeah.
So, Ibrahim and his brother were solid dudes, but I just don't feel like they had a real great business going on. Just because there's not a huge Islamic population. I mean, I'm sure there's somewhat of a Islamic population in the area.
Yeah,
but
there definitely
it just didn't seem to be maybe not enough to support.
Okay.
His business. Maybe there's other Islamic stores that took more of the business.
Right.
But so this guy bought it and started expanding, and as I'm talking to him, I'm like, you know what? I see what you're doing. And I think that it's a good idea because Lindenwold is a multicultural town, right? We're very mixed. There's white and black, all sorts of Central American.
Mm-hmm.
Right across the street from that grocery store we're discussing is a Hindu temple or whatever. I'm not sure what you call a Hindu temple, whatever it is, a Hindu church of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
We have African immigrants. We got Caribbean immigrants. So there's this huge population of
everybody.
Absolutely.
So
to see that and say, like, this town right here is a literal melting pot.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can hook business from each of these cultures.
Open it up a little bit.
Yeah, if I can, because you already got the connects to get things imported, whatever those things are that are going to be imported that you can't get, in other. That you're not getting these things in ShopRite. You're not getting Lebanese soda in ShopRite.
Right.
But this is the spot that has it. So
right.
This guy was capitalizing off of that.
Okay.
So I think my angle in a grocery store, when I open up my own grocery store, is going to be just that. And not even playing to the idea that I want, Central Americans, South Americans, Asians, Australians, and Europeans and Africans to all shop here. But I want to offer the products so you as a consumer can decide, like, you know what, tonight we're going to try food from Portugal.
We're going to give it a
swing. We're going to do a Portuguese dish tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have an aisle, 2-3 aisles maybe, of all Portuguese items that you might need for a Portuguese meal.
Right.
Or whatever Portuguese specialty. So every aisle, instead of it being, here's the bread aisle, here's this aisle, here's the cereal aisle, maybe we have some of that with things like dairy or your meat or whatever.
Right,
but
things that are more
general.
Neutral. Things that are more neutral.
Neutral, but also inside of each aisle, you're going to have the ability to, like, start at the top of the aisle with Portuguese breakfast.
Okay.
And then you're going to be able to end up at the end of the aisle making a paella.
That's an interesting move. I guess the logistics.
I'm an idea man.
Yeah,
babe.
I hear you. The logistics of that, the only thing I could think of that would be a complication that you have to work through. I'm actually interested in trying to sketch this out with you. Like, you would want to have so whatever the meal is, pick the meal. There's a set of ingredients for that meal.
Yeah.
So when you walk down this aisle, boom, all the ingredients are right there. Right? I want to make the paella. So what do you need? Flour, you need some seafood, you need it's all right there. Boom. This is the paella shelf. You get one of each, and when you go home, you'll have what you need to make paella.
Right.
The only problem with that I can think of is that there's going to be certain ingredients that are repetitive throughout the menu.
Yeah.
Flour is a good one. So are you going to have flour in 19 different locations?
Well,
or are you going to say there's like a little sign there that says, then don't forget on your way out, go to aisle 9B and pick up the flour?
There's two ways to do it, right? Because you could look at it and you could say, look, it's not really paella if you don't get flour imported from Portugal.
Okay.
So maybe in every aisle, you do have to have
different flour.
You have to have a different type of flour. You know, you have mesa flour in the Central American aisle.
For the tortillas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You have some other kind of flour,
you have the
whatever
flour in the Italian aisle.
Exactly,
I got you.
So you could play it that way.
Okay.
Or, like these general aisles, like the dairy aisle, whatever, what have you, the flour aisle has semolina, mesa, Portuguese, rice flour for the Asians, whatever.
I think that's what we do. I think you have a staples aisle. Like there's this one aisle that's like the things you would assume would be in any kitchen you'd ever walk into.
Every culture, right.
And then when you're going through the aisle with the specificities, you can have the thing say, you can use what you have on hand, but if you really want to go authentic, pick up a little bit of this.
This is what you want. Yeah. Now, obviously, at the front, we have a kiosk that, a few kiosks, so for ease of use.
Yeah.
Right?
You can kick out a recipe on the spot.
Exactly. Right there on the spot. We have a map. The joint the kiosk home screen is the world map, right?
Okay.
And then, it's broken down obviously into colors. You got like Southeast Asia's orange, and then, like where China, Japan, and Korea might be purple, and, broken down into sections beyond continent, but not quite country.
Okay.
Or maybe we go all the way in and go down to the friggin' county in each, goddamn country. I don't know.
So here's what we do, right? You go to the kiosk.
We're at the kiosk. I'm there.
The kiosk can do one of two things.
Yeah.
You can hit sort of the equivalent of the Google I'm feeling lucky button.
Okay.
Or you can go in yourself and search to your recipe, whatever you want, from wherever you want.
Yeah.
You hit the button. It texts the app that's on your phone.
Your phone. Perfect.
And they do this in some stores. It uses your GPS, right?
Yeah.
It's texted the recipe, and then you just use the GPS, and it says go to this aisle, pick up this, go to this aisle, pick up this, and it maps you right through.
Right where you got to go.
And that way we can keep the store more appropriately organized for stocking systems, and we can make
right
sure
through,
that
make it
you're
easy for you.
exactly, and you're getting what you need, and we're keeping the store organized and not doing weird shit like 9 different aisles have the same thing. This is how you do it.
Yeah.
This is like basically like what we're doing is we're taking like the Blue Apron sort of concept or the other ones that kind of ship you the food to your door and
making it brick and mortar.
But we're reversing the process where everybody else is going online. We're saying no. Some people need to be in a store.
Yeah.
And I agree with that, by the way. I agree that we're still in the crossover of generations where there are still people who will say to you, I need to have it in my hand or I'm not going to buy it.
And you want to browse sometimes.
Sometimes you just want to browse. Now
Blue Apron, I know I did the not the Blue Apron, the other one that sends you the meal kit.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah, one of them. I did for it sends you to HelloFresh.
Yeah.
I did HelloFresh for a little while. It was cool, right? But browsing, they only had a limited
like
amount
10
of
or 15
options.
things, right.
Yeah. And, you browse through them, and you don't necessarily get so much of an idea of what you're going to get. You just kind of pick by the name and a picture that it looks like. Here, you get to pick by country, and if you're not really sure, you get to browse by country to decide what you want. And with HelloFresh, Blue Apron, you're not getting the little side items. You're not getting an imported Lebanese soda from HelloFresh or Blue Apron.
Are you old enough to remember the store called Best?
No.
Okay. So Best was they call them catalog stores, but actually Penny's is a catalog store
right.
too. But the thing with Best was you would go into Best and there would be like one of everything on the floor. And you would figure out what you wanted. They were mostly like electronics and jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would say, okay, I want a Nintendo.
Yeah.
So you go to the front, you pay, and this conveyor belt, you watch. The conveyor belt brings your Nintendo out, comes down the chute, you take your Nintendo, you leave.
I feel like I vaguely remember this.
Well, B&H in New York does it too. If you go to the B&H stores, which are all electronics and such, they do the same thing. This is how you run the store. You go in, you got the kiosk, you pick out the meal, you hit the button, the conveyor belt comes down. We got people in the back, pack. Boom, everything comes right down to you. You don't even have to worry about, did I pick up the right thing? Did I go to the right aisle?
Yeah, and
and it's right there.
I think that's an option.
Okay.
I think we also need to have the browse the aisle option.
Okay.
Because then you see, like, you're browsing through, let's say, Zaire, right? You're in the Zairian aisle.
And you didn't realize.
You didn't even know that
Right.
Zaire might have had some sort of dish that you're interested in.
Right.
And then you see it, and then, boom, right next to it, you see the Zairean cereal, and you're like, oh, you know what? Fuck it. Well, I'm on a roll over here in West Africa. And Zaire may not even be in West Africa for all I know. Let me grab some Zairean cereal so that I can keep this roll going into the next morning.
I think we need to stop talking about this because I think we're giving away the goods here.
I mean, you know what we do, bro. We come up with business plans, we put them out into the universe, and then we walk away.
Just make sure we get our kickbacks.
Yeah. Here's one thing that you said that I have to tell you.
Shit.
All right. You said that we're gonna go in and it's gonna connect to the app on your phone and GPS you through the store.
Right.
It also, that particular app also connects right to your iTunes, and we have
you get the world playlist.
Yes,
we
have hand selected a playlist from that area of the world.
Okay.
For you to not only shop
you got the whole vibe going,
but you get to put that on when you get home so that you can cook to that type of music.
I love it.
Because, like, when I make peri peri chicken, you better believe that I got African funk music on. All right? And that's what it is.
When I make my pasta, I have Frank Sinatra on, so it's like the same thing.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I go Dean Martin, but,
I understand.
whatever you're into is what you're into,
absolutely.
as long as you're in the same lane there. So, that's that.
That is that. I got to get out of here because I got to go start a business.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm full of ideas. I just don't put them all into motion.
We need investors.
Listen, if I could get, here's what I need. If I could get an investor to rain the money on me, and then also like the labor pool underneath, so all I have to do is sit here in the middle with the idea and say what has to happen.
Well, yeah, that would be the idea. Because
that's really what my career calling is,
because if
idea man.
If you get the investor, then the investor's expectation would be that you run the show. Not that you actually perform all the work, but that you run the show.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, but I don't even really perform the show. I give the idea to the guy who runs the show.
Oh, you're not even, like, laying out the blueprint for those guys.
No, like, you're not going to catch me making calls to, like, international distributors, you know?
Okay.
I'm just going to be the guy who says, hey, here's the idea, here's the money, and here's my bank account. I need 10% shipped back to me every month.
Gotcha.
Idea man. It's a career that they didn't tell me was available when I was in school.
They didn't tell me anything either. I hear you.
You know, had it been like a course at Gloucester County College for that one half a semester that I went,
you would have paid more attention.
I probably would have invested myself into it a little bit.
I hear you on that. School was just you should be a doctor or a lawyer or a race car driver. There was no. I didn't know what a CSI was. I think I would have made a phenomenal CSI.
I think so, too.
I had no idea what it was until the show came on, and I was pissed when that show came on. Like, this would be something for me.
Yeah. So we got, is there any word on the BMX Olympic event right now?
I will look into it.
Because for the first time, for anybody listening or watching, for the first time in Olympic history, they are doing BMX freestyle as well as skateboard freestyle events, and the BMX men's freestyle, I believe, is happening live right now. So we're kind of trying to take a look and see what's going on. Is the U.S. in the lead?
The information I have here says that it starts at 10:20.
Okay, so we'll just keep an eye on that and kind of see what's going on.
Yep.
Now, the guys who are riding in the Olympics, not necessarily guys that I know or I'm familiar with their riding or their style. It's more of like a park event. Whereas I'm kind of I'm the street rat that I am, and my BMX career also kind of follows that roach in the gutter street path.
So there's only 4 guys tonight. I guess this is the finals.
So who is it? Does it tell you who it is?
I only got first initials, so I apologize.
Okay.
A. Jean from France.
Oh, yeah, of course.
K. Tenicio Esquivel from Costa Rica.
Okay.
D. Brooks from Great Britain.
Mm-hmm.
And N. Bruce from the United States.
I know Nick Bruce.
Okay.
And that's who I assumed would be riding for the U.S.
Okay.
I'm going to say, I don't know, not knowing anything about any of these guys.
Right.
What's the guy? France, right?
France. I guess it's Jean-Jean. A. Jean-Jean.
A. Jean-Jean. What a name. Hey, Jean-Jean.
It sounds Italian when you do it that way.
Yeah. A. Jean-Jean is probably coming in at, I think he's going third.
Okay.
I think he's going to come home with the copper medal.
Okay.
Vasquez Esquelios.
Tenicio Esquivel.
Yeah, Tenicio. He's coming in with the silver.
Silver for Costa Rica. I love it.
Well, if he is who I think he is, he's actually like, his story is phenomenal. He like grew up in this, like, village in Costa Rica and somehow stumbled across a BMX bike.
Right.
And just started like figuring out how to build ramps and like just built himself up from absolute knowing nothing about BMX and having nobody to show him the way, and wound up getting sponsored by American companies, and like really a fucking cool story if it is who I think it is.
Right. So that sort of story, like, do you feel that that's a more common story now with the internet than it used to be, or just we know more about, like, because you get those stories every now and then. You get like the Greek freak Giannis and Antetokounmpo, who didn't start playing basketball until like 6 years ago, and then he won a championship finals this past summer. And it's the same thing with Embiid, where they weren't really, like, they came from places where soccer was the sport to be in,
right?
And they came and they started playing basketball.
Greeks
and then,
always kind of Greeks are always in the mix with Olympic basketball.
Sure.
At least I feel like.
And they just all of a sudden they just pick up the sport, and because they're a natural at it, they don't need to learn as much as the other people do, and they're great.
Do I think that's more prevalent now? Probably.
Because like if I told you that story in the 80s, like this guy was in Costa Rica and a bike washed up on the shore, and he just suddenly in his brain concocted how to build ramps and all that stuff, that would be a wild fucking story.
Yeah.
But now when you're telling the story, it's still an incredible story, but you're like, okay, so he probably went on YouTube, he watched a bunch of tutorials.
Yeah.
He put it all together. I'm not taking that away from him, but it's a more
he had a tool.
It seems like a more likely story.
Yeah, he had a tool to do it. There's also listen, before I continue down this path, I have to tell you that over the past few days, I've upped my protein intake.
Okay.
And so, if things
You're
start
deucing a lot
smelling
more?
a little funny around here, I apologize.
Understandable. Thank you for warning me.
I should have kept my new cologne. I got a new scent.
A new scent bird?
Lacoste White.
Oh, okay.
Very good.
Yeah.
I'll let you smell me later.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
There's another story about kid from India who basically same idea. Came across a bike. Oh, or the kids in Nigeria who started riding BMX and have built a whole Nigerian BMX culture. Did you see this Red Bull video?
I did not.
All right, I'll send it to you, or if you remember, just check it out. But these guys, like 3 kids in Nigeria decided to start riding BMX, and now there's, probably 100, 200 BMX riders in Lagos, and they've built this whole culture to the point where Red Bull went over there and did a video about these guys,
right.
And certain pros go back. Certain pros go to Nigeria, ride with these dudes, and hang out, and like bring bikes over there and stuff like that. So, I think the internet. Obviously, we know that the internet has made a global, neighborhood,
global
if you will.
Yep.
Yeah, global community is the word I'm looking for. So I think that's, it is more prevalent to see it at this point.
Red Bull's an interesting company when it comes to that stuff. Like, I realize they're probably the market leader when it comes to energy drinks in the world.
Well, they are the best.
But I guess you don't necessarily think about them as being as financially successful as they appear to be, because like once you leave mainstream sports, Red Bull's got a hand in everything.
Yeah,
I've seen Red Bull has like biplane competitions where you're flying through hoops and stuff. They got hydroplane racing, BMX. Like once you leave the main 5, I don't think they have a NASCAR car, but like once you leave like the main 5, Red Bull has a everything.
Yeah, I think that. So Red Bull is kind of a thing to aspire to.
Okay.
As a BMX rider, whether you ride street or park or whatever style of BMX you ride, because the worlds are kind of split, right?
Right.
Red Bull is what guys aspire to. You get a frame sponsor, you get a part sponsor. You're probably in all reality, from my understanding, you're probably making like $1,200 a month from a frame and a part sponsor combined. And then if you're really good, you get an energy drink sponsor.
Right.
And then they're kicking you like $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month. They're paying for trips. They're sending you to like clinics. They're sending you to GoPro summits and shit like that. So you really now have a viable career
once you hit the energy drink team.
Once you get the energy drink.
That makes sense.
I knew a guy, a friend of mine, who's also a X Games medalist. He's won a few X Games medalists, my buddy Corey. And I tried to get it out of him. Tackily, I tried to ask him how much Red Bull. No, tackily.
Oh, tackily.
No,
real tacky.
Full tacky. I tried to ask him how much Red Bull pays you to sponsor, and he wouldn't tell me, but he did. He said his response was, "Listen, they pay you enough that they own you.
Right.
They want you to do something.
You do it.
You go and do it.
Right.
So, and that's they do. It's something to aspire to, and I think that they really have. I respect that they really have a finger on the pulse of the cultures that they get involved in.
They seem to, yeah.
Yeah, they're not just pulling a rider like whoever wins a couple of contests.
No.
Because a lot of these street riders are not even competing in contests, and they're Red Bull associated, but they are the top tier of street riders without a doubt.
And they're culturally relevant. Like, they're not just he's really good at it. He's really good at it, and he's in the magazines, and the kids are all watching him for his next trick and things of that nature.
Yeah, exactly.
They do the same thing. They have like podcast studios in New York where they just sponsor people to come in and do podcasts. Red Bull.
Hey, we're here. We're not only podcasters.
No.
We're also, one of us is a BMX rider.
That's right.
And speaking of BMX, tomorrow is a big day in street BMX.
Yeah.
Which is the dawn of
bigger than the Olympics?
For street BMX, yeah.
Okay.
For the street bulls, the Olympics ain't really.
It's not that big of a deal.
Nobody really cares that much.
You don't think it brings more eyeballs to it though? Not street as much because they're not really.
Yeah, but it's just such a different.
Okay.
The style of riding in the Olympics is so much different than the style of riding I do, or that I'm involved in, or that any of my associates ride.
Right.
That even if the eyes get brought to it, you know, some 10-year-old kid is like watching the Olympics and he sees somebody do a quadruple tail whip to double backflip. Like, that's amazing without a doubt. It's awesome. It's cool. I like watching it.
Right.
But he's going to watch that and he's going to say, I got to do that. That's what I want to do one day. And so if that's the case, that's what he's going to chase. And chances are that he will probably never ride through the streets of New York City with 500 BMX riders, watching them jump down 20 stairs and do 360s off of it. You know, it's just it's more, the street riding is more of a culture involved with the style of riding where you are out there in the streets, you're weaving through traffic, you're stopping to talk to the bums who are batshit out of their mind, you're, you know, maybe getting into a fight, you might be running from security, this whole culture of riding that comes along with that style of riding, and I just don't think that the Olympics really does anything for that part of BMX.
Okay.
So Dawn of the Streets is tomorrow, which I went to the last time they held it 2 years ago. And it is a competition. I believe that the top prize was $5,000 for the winner of Dawn of the Streets. So, you know, maybe 20 pros showed up. And what happens is everybody meets at one street spot. Continental Army Plaza in Brooklyn is the starting spot, which is a kind of a famous street spot for skating and definitely for BMX.
Okay.
And they just start riding, right? If you're a pro, you kind of get first dibs, but if you got the balls and you're good enough, everybody gets a shot,
Everybody gets to jump in.
You know what I mean? You could hop in the mix and you just start trying to nail whatever trick you want to nail down that street spot.
Get some attention.
So it's, you know, everybody is, it's just a line. If you don't nail it the first time, you ride back around and try it again and try it again. And we hang at the spot for a half hour or so and see what comes out. And the beautiful thing is that this is like a session. So guys might take 10, 15 times to land a trick, something really crazy hard.
Right.
And then they land it and everybody explodes.
Right.
Because we're, you know, it's just that you know, that feeling of
that excitement.
Yeah,
that
communal excitement for somebody
right.
to explode. So you spend a half hour, 45 minutes watching them tear down that spot, and then all of a sudden, some dude gets on a megaphone and goes, "All right, we're on to the next spot." And 500 BMX riders tear across the Williamsburg Bridge, shredding and doing manuals and 180s and scaring old ladies who are power walking across the bridge.
So is this sanctioned or is this just a bunch of people who get together and get wild and have fun?
So there's a guy. Look, what up? Look, that's my guy. He's going to be there tomorrow.
Yeah?
I thought he was banned from I thought you were in IG jail, but here you are. Look is the dude. Made You Look is my boy Jason.
The Boston bike guy?
Yeah, who makes all those dope-ass BMXs.
Really cool-looking bikes.
Yeah, he kills it.
That's not even my thing, and a couple of those bikes, I'm like...
But they're art.
I might have to get one of
those. Fucking art pieces.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Whether you like bikes or not, the shit that made you... at Made You Look 617, the shit that he does is fucking art.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yep.
It is... So the guy who runs it, Austin Augie, they call him Augie. He's pro for Fit Bike Company and maybe a part sponsor, but he rides for Fit, right? He's a New York kid, and he was the guy who put it on the first year, and so I would assume that he got
some kind of permits or whatever.
No, sponsorship money from maybe Fit or Odyssey or whatever bike companies wanted to throw him some money to help probably with the, with the prize money and shit like that. But as far as it being sanctioned, I don't think there's any really involvement in the city. I think it's just everybody shows up and knows that it's happening.
Okay.
And it's on a Saturday, so things are closed. Like, I mean, there was one spot we got kicked out of super quick, And then there was other spots. Like there was a spot where we showed up. We're riding. It's on the Lower East Side in the middle of the projects. You got to ride deep into the projects. Like there's like Queensbridge style housing projects where it's just big, 7-story brick building after brick building.
Right.
So you're like weaving through the back maze of these projects, and all of a sudden you get to like this fucking what could only be described as a Coliseum pit, right?
Okay.
And there's like the buildings are all around you. You're in this like secretive spot that nobody knows unless you're like a New York rider and you've been there before. Nobody knew that existed.
Right.
And it's like these 4 or 5 really big stairs that are almost like stadium seats to watch a wall ball game in the center. Like the center is, just flat concrete. And then on all 4 sides, these 4 or 5 stadium seats. Now, if you went straight up, it's probably about 12 feet high, and if you went straight back, it's probably about 15 to 20 foot in length, right? And these dudes are pedaling from the top, pedaling as fast as they could, and just jumping off the top, throwing tail whips and 540s and just shit that is unreal to see in a video.
And even better
in wilder to see in real life. And then, somebody breaks an ankle.
Right.
And every stops for a minute, so they get them up, move them out the way, maybe send them in an Uber to the hospital.
Get back to work.
And then business starts again.
Sure.
And then after about 45 minutes, they get on the megaphone, and it's on to the next spot.
For any of these sports, that's just the accepted cost of doing business.
Yeah.
You're gonna break a limb. You're gonna twist something. You're gonna hurt something. You're gonna get a concussion. But the pop that you get from landing your trick far outweighs the pain that you're going to experience when you don't land it.
Yeah, I can't imagine the glory that comes with performing at that type of an event.
Right.
Where it's the Olympics would be cool. You're on a world stage, and it's probably even more spectators than there would be at Dawn of the Streets.
Sure.
But at Dawn of the Streets, you're performing for the hardcorest of the hardcore BMX guys.
The knowledgeable people.
The underground guys.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's like going to Mill Hill Basement.
Right. That's what Voss is.
If it was packed, to the gills with everybody.
Right.
And you just shut it down with a hot 16.
Right.
Same idea, but probably even better because you're on it's just a better stage. So my live video has been erupted.
Has been erupted by whom?
We're back.
Okay.
I don't know. It just said we were interrupted. So, it keeps being interrupted.
That's weird.
Yeah, it is.
We're not getting any...
We're recording the audio, so whatever.
We're not getting any dropped...
it's just
frames.
It's just
right.
Facebook being Facebook. So, yeah, I mean, it's a hell of an event, man. It's going to be a good time. I'm super gassed up. I've been pretty much excited since thinking about it. So, I'm waking up early tomorrow morning. That's why I'm taking these beers. I was only going to drink 1 beer. I'm on my second, but I'm drinking it very slow.
You're sipping.
Yeah, very slow because it is way more important for me to be sober-minded and ready to rock and roll and fucking ride tomorrow than it is for me to get loose tonight.
Right.
We're at 10:20.
We are.
I got a bunch of things that we could talk to. I have 3 topics.
Okay.
To discuss. Well, actually, let me tell you this real quick. Since I'm talking about going to New York with the young guys, right? Because most of the crowd is like 25 and under.
Right.
I'm the old head when I show up.
For sure.
Although there's definitely a good percentage of guys, 30 to 40 who are still showing up.
Yeah.
They're not riding like the 25-year-old, 22-year-old kids are.
They got bad backs.
Yeah, but they're the guys who at 22 were getting busy and would have been at Dawn of the Streets,
Sure.
So it's definitely kind of cool to see. I don't think that I've really seen any other facet of life that guys of all ages like that will show up somewhere and get along like they're all the same age.
Okay.
Like you show up at church.
Right.
The older guys are acting like older guys and telling the younger guys to
behave.
Yeah, shit like that. You show up at work, the older guys probably have a further along position and are in, everybody shows up there and the boys are all just everybody's a 15-year-old boy,
right.
you know? So it's cool like that. Now, since I'll be with the young guys hanging out, you know, I listen to young guy music, bro.
You do.
I try
the youngest of young guy music.
I try and stay in touch with what's hot in the streets.
Yeah, I've noticed that about you.
You know, I don't like to listen. I love the shit that I grew up on,
but you don't want to just get stuck in your era.
I don't.
You want to evolve.
Yeah,
I got you.
I want to keep with what's hot, right? And for a while there, we were kind of under the impression, you know, we had Pop Smoke, but he perished way before his time.
Sadly,
we were kind of under the impression that New York is not. You know, like they're struggling. And New York is the home of hip hop. So we want to hail New York especially as an East Coast city. We're based out of Jersey, Philly. We want to hail New York and say, like, no, this is the capital of hip hop. This is where hip hop lives. Hot 97.
Yeah, I don't think they were struggling as much as the sound itself has devolved. I mean, we can go into a lot of context, but basically the idea that like 6 companies own all the radio stations got us to a point where regardless of where you're from, it all pretty much sounds the same because you're all chasing the same 6 companies' interests in playing your song.
Yeah, makes sense.
So it makes sense, but it also sucks because the 90s, especially the early to mid 90s, regional sounds were like a great fucking thing. Like, you know, even within New York specifically, like different areas of New York had a different sound, a different approach to every part of it. And that was part of the fascinating part of it. Like, you could listen to a rapper with a producer that you knew neither of and kind of pinpoint where they came from just based on presentation and sound. And now it's really just a wash.
Well, here's
what
I know.
There's a lot of reasons for it,
yeah.
but
here's what I stumbled across because you know I've been going hard on our boy Menace Monroe.
Yeah,
did you hear OCD
by Menace?
Yeah.
I don't know. I may have been on my playlist. I don't know.
My man lives by the 10 fresh commandments. I'll tell you that.
Well, that's good.
He's got OCD. His whip got to match his shirt.
Okay.
You know, his mask got to match his ski mask got to match his gloves. That
makes
whole
sense.
whole thing.
You want to be fashionable while you're committing crime.
Yeah, but it's good. If you have it, if it's not on the playlist,
I'll make sure it gets
search it out and check it out. Yeah. OCD is a good one. That's exactly what I thought of when I heard. I'm like, oh, the 10 fresh commandments, my man. I like you even more.
All right, that's gonna be a thing we do now.
Buck shots. I'm going to look on the screen real quick and see if you can even see it. I think
I hope not.
I don't think that you can. I think that that the little bottom corner, John.
Right. You covered it up.
You just barely see it.
Good.
As I was delving into Menace,
right,
it had led me to other things. And I came across Busy Banks.
Okay.
Busy Banks is a New York drill kind of dude.
See, that's the thing I'm talking about. Drill is a Chicago thing.
Well, rap was once a New York thing, and then it expanded out, and now it's
right. But what I'm saying,
it's just waves being sent different directions. It doesn't have to stay in one place. This is the global community.
I get it, but no, because like so rap started in New York, and it resonates, and it goes out to L.A. And the way, for the most part, the way that West Coast music sounded versus East Coast music, yes, they were doing the same art, but in very clearly different ways. And the more you pay attention to the culture from the two different places, you can kind of understand why they have a different sound. New York always had a more aggressive, angry sound, and LA or California tends to skew to more relaxed sound. And if you look at, first of all, the East Coast is in general a more hyper area. And then the living conditions versus the living conditions in the West Coast, they all breed a different feeling, and that different feeling translates to a different sound in your music. Drill is a very Chicago thing for a very specific set of reasons that don't really happen in New York enough that you would want to be a drill rapper from New York.
Well, let me give you this.
Okay.
Let me rebuke.
Okay.
Do I rebuke or rebuttal?
Just rebut.
I'll rebut. It is quite possible that as a 22-year-old hip-hop aficionado in 2021, a kid may listen to Chicago drill and New York drill and be able to pick apart
Be
the
able
difference.
to tell the difference. Sure.
I can't, but I'm sure that they can. To us, drill sounds like drill, but there may be some subtleties that change that. And also, I think that
Busy Bones also. Oh wait,
Busy Banks.
Busy Banks. That's why.
I think that I think in order for, like, if drill came from Chicago and moved its way to New York, it may still sound like Chicago drill,
right?
but give it time to evolve into what New York drill would be with itself. So
right.
I say all that to say that Busy Banks then brought me to a joint that he did with Flex, Funkmaster Flex,
sure.
of the
from the
Funkmaster Flex show, of the Tunnel fame, of the 60 Minutes of Funk fame.
Sure.
You may know, he's not very popular. You might know, he did a mixtape way back in the day called 60 Minutes of Funk. You might have heard of it. You might not have, but look it up. It's worth a spin.
It is.
There's a really good random Eminem joint and another Ludacris joint on the Big Cap and Funkmaster Flex. 60 Minutes of Funk.
Is the Eminem one that If I Get Locked Up?
Yeah. If I Get Locked Up Tonight, and it was also the Ludacris joint where he was like, "I got your mama in a headlock." Something. Then he goes on. It was a good one.
And then isn't there? I think there's another. Is the Eminem and Redman song on there too?
It's quite possible. Quite possible. That was a good. It was a good mixtape, album mixtape kind of thing.
Three of them, right? Yeah, they were all pretty good.
So in Funk Flex's natural habitat of making decent mixtapes, he has made what I would guess we would call a YouTube mixtape,
right? With
all these new, younger generation of New York drill rappers,
okay.
Fivio Foreign and Busy Banks, this dude 42 Doug, who I never heard of until then. CJ, your favorite, one of your faves. Yeah, one of your faves.
Sure.
But also threw a joint in there with Jada that I believe I sent you. Did I send it to you? I meant to send it to you.
I think you did. Now I'm hurt.
Yeah. Well, I sent it to Vasil.
Okay, that's not the same
Other
thing.
big bearded dude. I get mixed up with the Italian big bearded dude and the Greek big bearded dude. So, but he Jada had a joint on there that was kind of fire too. But, so with us feeling like NYC has lost maybe its foothold, I think that Flex with this tape
trying to give it back
is trying to get it back. And I think it's a shame that Pop Smoke is gone because he would have spearheaded that fight to really put NYC back in the front of the public, as far as hip hop is concerned. But I think even still, sans Pop Smoke, they're on the rise and they're coming back,
Okay. I'm here for whatever kind of music is produced. Like I've said time and time again,
you always give it a shot.
I love my era, but I will listen to anything else because some of it's going to appeal to me.
Sometimes you'll even hate it.
Yeah,
and then listen back on it.
Still listen. But if we could get back to a little more lyricism and a little less reliance on the vibe of the beat, I'd be a little happier.
So this is what I think is kind of. I think this is what's happening with New York drill versus maybe Chicago drill or other drill rap.
Right.
Is that I think now we're not dealing with fucking cannabis level lyricism.
No, but who is?
Right. But I think that in comparison to Chief Keef, Rowdy Rebel really raps.
Okay.
And he might throw a couple multi-syllablic rhymes at you and might really have something for you. I just don't think that being as lyrical as a cannabis or a Razkaz or that lane of what's the other dude from the West Coast, and I know him and I just can't think of his name right now. He rapped with Slaughterhouse.
Oh,
you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, the big dude with the beard. Shit,
I forgot his name.
Yeah, who are the four guys in Slaughterhouse? It's
Joel
Joey, Ortiz,
Royce,
and Crooked Eye.
Crooked Eye. I knew his name. Yeah, that level of lyrics, I just don't think I just don't think that we're really going to see much of a reemergence of it
Well-
because the world as a whole, with the invention of the internet, has been dumbed down. And I think that that bleeds over to like where you could rap 100 syllables a minute, or 100 syllables. You could do all that. You could rap just like fucking Razkaz. You could rap like the Four Horsemen on a cannabis mixtape, right? But you're not going to get the recognition because, one, the world has dumbed down and music is so heavily vibe focused and music is so heavily a teenage culture, regardless. So,
Right, well, yeah.
So we might find it and love it, but you're not going to get very far. I just don't think that I think that the era of the lyrical MC has probably, sadly, has come to an end, and we're just not going to get as much of it as we once did, or as much of it as we may crave.
I don't think you're wrong, but I also hate that I don't think you're wrong. I think there's room. I think there's room for it. I really
don't disagree.
I also think that like I don't think Drake's a bad rapper. I think as a architect of rhymes, I think he's pretty decent.
Yeah, I agree.
I certainly can see where some of his stuff, where he's really trying to display his prowess, is way above the stuff that like becomes popular. So I understand what you're saying about like it gets dumbed down to hit the masses.
Yeah.
But I think that's always been the case, although probably not. But also the other thing that's kind of missing in general that would probably lead to bringing back the lyricism is the emotion of it. Like there's not as much storytelling rap anymore. There's not as much just, and I know in the 90s it was all about, being stoic, but there was a lot more addressing your feelings in the rap in the 90s besides just the anger and the hatred for society. Like there was I miss my mom, there was I love my girl, there was I'm frustrated about this other situation that's not one of the main bullet point topics of rap. And when you have to delve into all those different topics, you have to be able to emote, and you can get more lyricism out of that. And you're right, not everybody's got to be cannabis or Razkaz, and that's fine, because the other thing you see happening is like with Eminem, he's become so focused on that part of it that there's no soul in his music anymore.
Right.
And once the soul is gone, the fun's gone. And the thing that Eminem brought to the table was not only being a masterful MC that everyone was scared of, but it was fun to listen to him.
Yeah.
You would listen and you would be like, okay, he's fucking weird and he's crazy, but this shit is fun.
Yeah, he would tell like a whole As the World Turns was
Right.
a hilarious story.
Right. It's super fun. And then
Go Gadget Dick.
And then it became more important to show off the thing that everybody respected about him. And then once you
got too far into it. He got like mechanical.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's what I think that plays to. And I don't know whether I agree or disagree that the emotion has left, like the vulnerability.
Yeah.
This is such an odd topic to talk about, vulnerability as an MC.
Well, no, because it's always existed, and it should. Because keeping it real, part of your keeping it real is talking about the things that concern, scare, and frighten you.
No, I agree. And actually, as per myself, I remember in my teenage years when that clicked to me that, like, you're a G if you're honest across the board
Right.
about whatever is happening, instead of just being a G and trying to look like a G because
Right.
you're tough.
Right.
But I think that this speaks to the emasculization of society somewhat, right? Where now men are expected to be softer and less stoic, and almost sometimes get held to the fire for being masculine.
Okay.
So now, hold on, let me connect it.
Mm-hmm.
I got it here. So now you have these young dudes who are expected to be less. Damn, I had it connected in my fucking head and now I lost it.
So you think that at the point in time that we're talking about, at the 90s point in time, the stoicism and the sort of bravado was encouraged. So doing the opposite, being a common and telling a story, was sort of counterculture.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
now,
there we go.
now it's the other way around, where
Exactly.
like it's good that you get your soul out there. So now being stoic is now the counterculture move.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Because hip hop is the epitome of, even though it's now mainstream culture.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's now mainstream culture, but it's still mainstream culture based off of counterculture ideas.
Sure.
Which then fucks everybody up in a whole nother way, because you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not really culture. The idea of stoicism against, vulnerability now gets all fucking jumbled up.
Sure.
And a 13-year-old fucking cove has no idea which way to go, because
now he's in jail.
Yeah, because he's all fucked up, because he can't figure out whether he's supposed to be a man by fucking explaining his feelings and being true to that,
or being a man by
or
shutting
if he's
the fuck
supposed
up.
to shut the fuck up and deal with it. So now he doesn't know what to do, and he sniffs fentanyl.
Sure. It makes all the sense in the world.
He turns into a goddamn zombie on fucking Kensington Ave.
Yeah.
Not that happened to me,
But it could happen.
but at this current juncture, it possibly could. So, I don't know. I don't
right.
even know if we have a point to put on all of that. It was just kind of a way we delved into saying that Flex got some bangers out right now.
Okay.
And speaking of, right, being true to what's going on with you, right?
Oh, okay. I don't like the way that you looked directly at me when you said that.
Well, I need you to be truthful here.
I try to be.
Listen. There's some things that have come back to me.
Okay.
About the way you've been moving, and
Try to move in silence like lasagna.
Possibly that you're trying to take over the gig and replace me. I heard that somebody has told me that in your new home, in your studio room, you have gotten a neon The Gig logo, with some cameras,
right.
And you've been recording with Big Cuz Live.
You weren't supposed to find out about that.
That's what I'm saying. See? I know it.
But I thought it made sense. I figured if you're going to have a gig, you should have a gig every day, right? Who wants a gig just once a week?
You're right. We should have a gig every day. And if I didn't have a gig every day,
you'd have a gig every day.
I'd have the gig every day.
I understand. You either be stoic or not stoic.
No. So I've seen this. I've fallen somewhat, and maybe I'm being egotistical by saying this.
Most likely.
Maybe not. But I feel like I've fallen into somewhat of a spot where I am a de facto life coach for a few guys.
Okay.
A couple of gentlemen who I spend time with on a regular basis. And I feel like, not only because I didn't really even think of it until two of these guys had kind of said something along those lines to me. Somebody had given me the compliment that hanging around me is a lesson in life science.
Okay.
Which blew my mind, because
right.
I think being around me is just, swinging a hammer or riding a BMX bike or lifting weights. I don't know.
I would disagree with that, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, maybe I'm humble in some place. As it turns out, maybe there's some humility here.
Well, either humility or the lack of realization that the things that you think define you don't define you, and it's the way you handle the things that you think define you that defines you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you think to yourself, oh, I'm just a kid who was in and out of the system, and now I'm a construction worker and I lift weights. And somebody else might look at you and say, here's a kid who survived being in and out of the system, built a business for himself, and keeps in shape.
Right.
Like, it's the same thing, but the perspective is different.
Yeah, it's interesting to think how other people view you.
Yeah.
To be able, because, you don't see the forest through the woods.
Trees.
When you're, whatever, what the fuck I mean. You don't see the ocean past the waves.
Right.
And you also don't see the sewers that run under a city street.
Sure.
Okay? So, that being said, I have a couple of associates who I deal with on a semi-regular basis who are all dealing with some issues.
Okay.
Right? That I kind of want to bring up, but also leave these gentlemen
Keep the names
anonymous.
The names have been changed to protect the not so innocent, most likely.
So this first friend of mine, let's call him Filbert.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Filbert has recently started to really look at life differently.
Okay.
All right, which is beautiful because I don't think that he was really looking at life terribly. I think he was relatively successful and handled himself okay.
Okay.
But he's recently turned inward with himself and started doing a lot of different things, and it's been a pleasure for me to watch Filbert grow.
Okay.
I've become so intertwined with old Philly boy's journey
Right.
that I offered him some supplements. Right?
Okay.
These are not...
But legit supplements, or like you're trying to give him drugs?
Well, no, they're not drugs.
Okay.
Right? You can't buy them at GNC.
Right.
But you could buy them at a mom-and-pop supplement store.
Okay.
So they're borderline.
Right.
You know,
They're not illegal, but they're not FDA approved.
they're the good stuff.
I got you.
You know?
Like Mach 9.
Yeah. Mach 9. Jesus Christ. I wouldn't offer that to anybody. I don't want to ruin anybody's life in that manner.
All right.
So I give Filbert this supplement.
Yeah.
And I say, hey, man, here, whatever. If you want it, cool, take it. If not, do whatever you want to do with it. I've found that this is
helpful.
Cool. This is good for what you're trying to do.
Right.
I get a text from Phil, I think it was last night, that said, bro, those supplements, I think it was cardenine, maybe.
Okay.
That stuff was fucking amazing. Like, I feel so much energy and like I'm this, I'm that. I'm like, that's fucking beautiful. And Filbert also says, however, I also feel like a 7th grader. I'm walking around with a boner all the time.
Okay.
These are the fucking texts that I get in my life being a man's life coach,
yeah,
you know?
Well, I mean, it's
It's tough to be a men's life coach because you have to deal with issues like other men's boners.
Well, ultimately, look, regardless of the perspective or the angle we're taking, ultimately, men are defined by their hair and their boners. So if you're doing a good job, it's going to lead to them having more and better boners, and them explaining that to you is a tip of the cap to your good work.
Yeah, the fact that he could come to me and talk to me about his boners is, I felt honored to discuss.
Like, he's that comfortable with it. Like, here, let's talk about my dick
I
for a
feel
little bit.
honored to discuss your penis with you, my friend.
Sure, Filbert.
Philly boy.
Right.
But the problem is that Filbert has taken an oath of celibacy.
Okay.
Okay? So he's in this jam where he's saying to himself, like, hey, I'm not fucking these hoes.
Right.
You know, I'm trying to focus solely on
I'm trying to
getting my shit
trying to get
straight.
me good before I go and worry about other people.
Right.
Yeah, that's noble.
You know, he's trying to not be a dweeb and jerk off. You know, we
sure.
won't get deep.
Yeah,
we won't get into that argument.
No.
But this is just where where he lives right now.
Okay.
Right? And so I say, Filbert. Right? Here's the thing. You've spent 6 months not fucking these hoes.
Trying to shape up and be on the narrow path.
You spent 6 months not fucking these bitches.
Right.
You've also spent a good portion of that time not fucking jerking your dick like a nerd.
Right.
And now you are at the epitome of right now you're at the peak of your journey. Now your peak may go higher, obviously, and I believe that it will.
Okay. You're still on the you're trending upward still.
You're still going upward.
Okay.
But now that you've spent this 6 months or more or less working on yourself, it's time. Right?
Okay.
Now you've put you don't have to take life off from, like, you did all this work. You got yourself to where you are feeling yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're proud of yourself. You feel like you look good. You like how you look in the mirror. You like how you feel. you're making very smart choices. You've grasped the hold of your discipline.
Right.
Now it's time, like, it's use that.
Okay.
Right? And he was kind of on this seesaw of, like, you know, I really, now this performance enhancing supplement has gotten me to the point where, like, I need to fuck abroad or spank it.
Okay.
And then on the other side of the seesaw is like, yeah, but I'm not doing that right now.
Right.
So the conversation wound up just kind of being like, what's your move, right? Do you continue on the path you're on and still leave women alone and still, like, try to not jerk your little monkey? Or do you give in to that side? Are you giving into temptation, or are you just, is that the next step on the path?
So you got three things here. The first one is, the first thing you want to start doing is, for at least for right now, your mindset should be that your boner is just a symptom / side effect / evidence that you're doing a whole bunch of healthy things for yourself.
Correct.
It should almost be like a little medal, a little reminder. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. You're healthy, your blood is flowing, you're doing good by yourself, and this is just an effect of that. Your blood flow is part of being healthy.
Yeah.
The second thing is, at a certain point, you kind of removed yourself from society because you felt like you needed to shape up. And now you are shaping up. Your evidence is all around you that you're shaping up. You're getting to a point that you were trying to get to, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But the thought process would be, you removed yourself in order to reinsert yourself at another point in time.
Right.
So you have to start testing those waters. So perhaps in conjunction with all of these other life changes, consider the places that you have been finding these hoes to fuck, as you say.
Yeah.
And maybe those aren't the places to be going to test this reinsertion. Maybe you need to consider that kind of like the pool you swim in defines,
in order
all
to
this
find
other stuff. So maybe you have to figure out, okay, I'm eating healthier, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Now I have to start making these sorts of changes externally too.
Yeah.
Maybe I go to, I don't know, a coffee shop instead of a bar.
Yeah.
Maybe I go to the Y instead of, some corner where they're selling weed. You know what I mean? Like, I'm being extreme, but so because at some point you're going to have to start, you're not testing your resolve. You're trying to see if you've accomplished everything you were hoping to accomplish.
Right.
And this is how you find out. You're not defined by your relationship because you should be more comfortable with yourself now. And you don't want to return to your old habits, but there's a lot more to your old habit than just the one central act that you're focusing on.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with saying, all right, let me see if I have the discipline to go and start to ease back into these other things and maintain this new me that I'm trying to build.
You need to reinsert for reinsertion.
Yeah, I know the pun.
I was trying to get there
trying to avoid
before you walked us all away from it. And I think that with Filbert, he's not so interested in the random girl.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Knock him down, which is fine. But I also had said to him, like, if you don't start knocking a few down, then where are you going to find the one that you can keep around? You're not just the one that you're going to keep around is not just going to. Well, maybe she will. Maybe luck will have it that you walk into Wawa and this beautiful beaming light of an angel happens to, come talk to you while you're grabbing a Monster Energy drink.
Right.
And then you guys live happily forever after.
Right.
But the chances of that are slim if you're not now putting yourself into the field to maybe talk to a few and maybe take a few out, maybe bring a few home, maybe kick a few out in the morning.
Yeah, this is the easing back into it. But again, this is where we get to the nuance of where you're trying to find the women that you're trying to test your new abilities on.
Yeah.
To try, you're not trying to skim the scum off the top of the pool. You're trying to be, in a different place. So be in a different place. There's nothing wrong with that. You're going to want to get to that point at some point. So what's wrong with today? And if you're looking in the mirror and you're like, you know what? I'm accomplishing some shit. I'm doing good for myself. I'm feeling better about the way I raise my kid if I happen to have a kid.
Right.
I intend to have relationships at some point. Today's at some point. Let's go work on having some relationships.
Yeah. Yeah, and I that's kind of roughly the advice that I gave him. So now he's got it coming from two angles and two pretty logical sources with that routine. So being that now you already know who Filbert is.
I didn't say that.
Well, we know that you know who Filbert is. It's not about you not knowing. It's about the rest of the world not knowing.
Fair enough.
Do you think that there's a spot, a certain spot for Filbert to go where he's going to meet some women that he could build friendships with and possibly move on to more? My thought would be, I want to say the gym, but I also don't think that that's the place.
The gym's a tricky place.
Yeah.
Because you can fuck up and be.
You could be a real creep.
And not even on purpose. You think you're doing it properly and you think you're being cool, but she just wants to be there to bust her ass and work out. So you're a creep no matter how you approach it. I think, I mean, it's going to sound silly, but I think like Barnes & Noble. Go to the bookstore. There's always people sitting in the coffee section and in the magazine section.
Easy conversation
Easy
starter.
conversation. Hey, that magazine, I was looking for that magazine. Let's start talking about that magazine.
Yeah.
And pick someone who's reading a magazine that you actually would be interested in. Don't just fuck around with the
You're
prettiest
gonna have
girl.
to hunt a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
None of this is going to come easy at this point, but you don't want easy. If you wanted easy, you would have stayed the way you were.
You'd have been swiping through Tinder.
Right. You want to build up. You need to move from Tinder to Match.
Yeah.
Because now you need to really start to be with people that you can connect with besides the sex.
Yeah.
And that's where you start. So you got to start at these sort of like, I guess, like calmer places. Like you don't want to be at the Applebee's at the bar section.
Yeah.
You want to be in the back corner where like we can sit and talk and it's not just about who can get drunk faster and get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Yeah, I think the bookstore's a good start.
I think also
a park. Go walk in the park.
Well, no, I think maybe is somebody over there or is that the dog? Sounded like the dog. Probably.
Yeah, I can't say her, but yeah. It's probably the dog.
I think I just saw a tail.
Okay.
I think maybe for his particular situation, maybe a Taibo class.
Okay, that's not bad.
Or whatever other class they're having. Problem is that I know that financially he's having a little bit of a rough time. So like swinging that extra $200 a month, or
that's rough
for whatever kind of class it could be. I think that that's kind of in the gym lane, but then also build it leaves you more room for building a friendship.
Yeah.
First, where you're repeatedly coming to this class and seeing this person week in and week out, and you can run the slow game on them.
Right, exactly. So that's the distinction between just being in the gym and being in a class is like now it's a group activity and we've all agreed to be in this group as opposed to just I saw you over at the at the free weights and now I'm going to talk to you.
You looked great when you were squatting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean there I'm sure there's like a taekwondo in the park somewhere where a bunch of 20-30 people get together and just do their stretches and all that
Tai
shit.
Chi.
Tai Chi, sorry, yeah.
Tai Chi.
You're right. Yeah. There's probably Tai Chi somewhere. There's probably some people doing yoga.
I wonder if he likes Asian girls.
Because
Tai Chi would be the place.
Sure.
If you're into older Asian women, Tai Chi is your spot, Daddy.
For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's going to be group activities that aren't going to be that expensive that you get together and do, and now that you've all agreed to be together, it's not as creepy
as the gym, as a one-on-one
where you're
approach
just talking to someone, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we're all whatever it is. We're all going to the flower show together. I'm going to talk flowers with this person who came to talk flowers.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we have I got some stuff to go back to Filbert with.
Okay.
I'm also just going to probably direct him right here and say, I do this podcast with a guy.
Sure.
This guy knows, he's 67 years old. He's got a little bit of life experience.
Yeah.
Maybe just chat. I brought you up on this. We talked about you. I know you don't know him. He doesn't know you or whatever. But
take a listen and maybe you send an email. You chit chat. That way, and we expand the conversation.
We put a BB in it.
There you go.
The next issue.
Okay. We're done with Filbert. You shot the gun. Now we're on the next topic.
Yeah.
That's how we're going to do this from now on.
When you shoot a BB into the curtain, look
Until
at Tess. She's like, what the fuck was that?
Until somebody fucking calls the cops on us. I was watching this podcast, and this guy keeps pulling a gun out and shooting.
Rabbit's like, what the hell was that? So this next gentleman has been. This is also a good one because you are a man. How long have you and Mrs. Payday been married for? Mrs. Jones. You and Mrs. Jones.
So 03, and what are we, 21 now? So
We're
like 18
pushing
years?
20 years.
Yeah.
We're pushing 20.
We're getting there, yeah.
So you've had a successful marriage.
I like to think so. I don't know what she would say about it.
18 years in, you're still there.
Yeah.
You got a baby.
Yeah.
You just bought a new house.
Right.
You got some
We're
success, even if you hate each other.
Sure.
As long as you hate each other less than 50% of the time,
yeah.
I think we're looking at success here.
All right. Then I'm by that metric, I'm good.
Okay. So this guy, we'll call him. Let's give him a good name.
Okay. Filbert was not a good name?
That's a good name.
We're just gonna name everybody after streets in Philly?
I just want a good name. No, that was not Filbert, like Filbert.
Yeah, Phil.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this guy, we're gonna name him after another Philadelphia icon.
Okay.
This is my friend, Joey Merlino.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Sure.
No. Let's go further back. My friend Bruno.
Okay.
Angelo Bruno.
Sure, Angie.
Yeah, Angie. So Angie has been with his old lady for about 5 years.
Okay.
And up until maybe 6 months ago, they seem to have a pretty good relationship.
Okay.
They're not married. They live together and raise a family together.
Okay. They're as close as you can be without having the certificate.
That's it. That's
Gotcha.
the only thing they're missing is the certificate.
Sure.
Angie's old lady kind of went off the deep end. All right?
In what capacity? I know you can't give me specifics.
I know. I can't. It's hard to say. Get too specific.
So categorically, was she sharing her interests with another man?
No. She went off the deep end, like with her mental stability.
Okay.
And Angie claims that it's
testing him.
No, he believes that this is like a chemical situation. Chemical imbalance, not chemical like using chemicals, like a legitimate.
This is we need some lithium type of.
Yeah, like a legitimate, just kind of had some sort of a episode, right?
Okay.
This episode led to Angie's wife has stopped having sex with him.
Okay.
So now they're about 6 months strong on a sexless marriage.
Okay.
And he's having a tough time with it.
Understandable.
Because, as a family man, he wants to keep the family together.
Sure.
He's built this life with his wife. But he's also starting to see that after her episode that it's almost like, is she going to come back? Right?
Right.
Is she going to come back from this and be that girl that I once had? And how long is this whole not having sex thing dragged out? Because she believes that the not having sex is tied into
her regaining her mental state.
Her mental state is like, as a result of that, she's like, we can't have sex.
Okay.
Right? Because of the mental gymnastics that she's doing on herself and the way that she went out.
Okay.
He's tried, he's tried to kind of talk with her about it. It seems like they don't get anywhere. That her only solution is, you have to marry me for real, and then we could start having sex again.
Okay.
So now, to me, that seems like an unpleasable woman, right? To me, it seems as though this is the tool that she's using in order to get what she wants from you, and what she wants from you is stemming out of a mental breakdown and not really stemming out of reality and what's going on. So now she's using this thing to get what she wants. If you give that to her, I believe the cycle then continues, and you're going to wind up going through hell trying to please this girl, and she's just going to not ever be pleased. She's going to be on to the next thing that she needs you to fix, and whether she's going to withdraw sex from you or it's going to be some other thing, you're just going to keep getting hell if you bend to the idea of, okay, whatever you want in order to make life easy, I'll just do that.
Okay.
And as far as her putting that ultimatum on the table, whereas, like, things have been awry for months,
right?
The getting married does not look like a solution to me.
No, it doesn't sound like it. No.
It looks like at this, because part of him says that, there's a part of him that says, like, maybe if we just do that, like, things will calm down. I'll start getting laid. Things will be happier at home. We'll stop with the fighting. And I just don't see that as the case. I see that as like that's like an act of aggression. Like, you're trying to hold me hostage almost by saying to do that. So Angie's in a tough spot, and I tell him whatever I tell him, and sometimes he listens. Sometimes he acts. He always listens.
Right.
Sometimes he
doesn't
acts.
Follow the advice.
Sometimes he just kind of lets it play out, and that's fine. I don't expect everybody to follow every piece of advice. You got to live your own life. But what do you got for Angie?
All right. So the first problem for me is the weaponizing of sex.
Terrible, right?
That's a horrendous move, no matter what. No matter how it's done, even if it's weaponized as a reward, any method of weaponizing sex in a relationship is just a bad fucking thing, because it sets a precedent, and it sets precedents that you may not necessarily want to be a precedent. Now we're mixing in this other larger issue of her mental condition.
Yeah.
And so at this point, I have to say no to marriage right now. But I'm going to treat this the way I treat kids at a restaurant. So we go to the restaurant, and there's some kids being rambunctious at the next table over, and the parents are ignoring them, and the kids are continuing to be rambunctious. I will go to those parents and say, hey, you're being a fucking piece of shit. You're ruining everyone's day. Get your shit together. Versus kid acting in a very similar manner, but the parent is there, like, trying to calm them down, giving them the eye, whatever it is. They're trying to get this thing settled down. I'm going to have a lot more leniency for that, and I'm going to say, you know what? They're trying. Kids are tough to fucking wrangle, and they're trying. So they're showing me that there's, like, concern for their behavior and concern for
everybody else's.
For everybody else's. So I'm going to go to her, and I'm going to say, listen, I can't marry you right now because there's a lot of strange shit happening that I'm just not on board with. But if this thing, and I wouldn't say this part, but if this thing is truly, a condition, a medical condition, are you working on it? Are you getting the medication you need? Are you taking it religiously? Are you going to a counselor if that's a suggested remedy?
Here's where that, I'll feed you this so you have a better understanding of the story, is that from what I understand, sometimes it seems as though she is working on it. Okay. And then sometimes it seems as if she isn't. So it's hard to say, like, on an overall, are you working on it more, or are you not giving a fuck about it more? Right. And I don't know the answer, and Angie doesn't know the answer. Only his old lady knows what the answer is.
So so if she's going to weaponize this, you have to return serve. If you feel like I do want to put some effort into trying to fight through this and see it through to the end one way or the other, you have to say to her, look, you want this ring. Here's the checklist. Here's the things that we, not just you, but we, because a mental breakdown when you live in a house with another person and children is not going to be your own thing on your own island. Right. Right? So we're all going to work together to see if we can get you better, get you more comfortable, get you calmer, whatever it might be. And the minute you stop working on that, I got to go, because you're damaging everyone and you're being selfish about it. Yeah. But if you're working on it, if you're continuing to work on it, even if the improvement is slow, we're here by your side to help you work on it because we're your family and we love you. You're an adult, though. You got to make your own choice. And if you choose to let this slide, it was nice knowing you. And it's going to hurt me. It's going to rip me up inside. I'm not doing it from some callous, I'm out the door type of angle. But I'm better off not being here with you if you're going to be okay with terrorizing all of us with the idea that we may come home on any given day and you're just going to lose your shit and we're not going to know why.
Right.
So that it's difficult, but it's got to be, she's got to be evidencing that she's continuing to try to figure this out and get better.
I think that, and this is something that I've shared with him, is that I think it may be necessary for him to leave for a time. I don't know if he needs to leave for good, or he needs, there comes a point when you have tried to help so much and tried to say, hey, this is what needs to happen, you need to do this.
Yeah.
And if it keeps not happening, then you're saying,
then
you have
to
you got to walk away. And that may be the ticket for her to turn around and say, like, because I feel like, again, this is all secondhand, and I'm just talking out of what the discussions me and Angie have had.
Yeah.
Is that I feel like she is blaming him.
Okay.
Because he's the closest thing to her.
Sure.
That's not her.
That's natural, like, that's nature. Yeah,
right.
I understand.
Right. And I think that if that's the case, once Angie takes off and says, all right, well, if I'm the thing that's ruining you, then I got to get out of I got to get out of here and make your life easier.
I love you too much to ruin you. Yeah.
And then I think she's left with the only option is to look at herself, and then that becomes the idea of, like, okay, so either you got to work on something or you continue down this path that you're on, because there's no one else to blame it on at this point.
So I think you're playing a dangerous game if you're going to try to leave for a little bit and come back. That's why I'm saying, like, I don't want to threaten her with leaving, but I want her to understand that there's let's say a 4-month period here. And at the end of this 4 months, either we've agreed to commit to getting you better, or I honestly just have to leave. I'm angry about it, but I'm not like, it's not a violent threat. It's just it
just is what it is.
We don't have another choice here. We either have you getting better, or we have to dissolve this thing, and it's going to suck. Like I said, like, it's not like nonchalant and callous. It's going to fucking break his heart.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's going to be much worse if he's just hanging in because he thinks someday magically she's going to wake up and the sun's going to shine again.
Right.
But nobody's putting any effort into fucking clearing up the sky.
Right. And that's roughly what I've told him as far as all that's concerned.
But I think with a person who's mentally unstable, I think you don't want to play the game of, I'm going to leave for 3 days, and when I come back, maybe you'll...
No, I was saying to him, like, leave for some months.
Right.
And let her be alone with her shit, and almost as if to leave as if you're not coming back.
Right.
With the hopes that
she asks you back. That
it
worth
gets
coming back.
It gets better.
Yeah. All right.
Because, you know, maybe it's time for her to see how valuable you are as a part of that family. Because I believe that he is a value in that family.
Sure.
He's the breadwinner. He seems to be a solid father. He helps, you know, take care of the housely duties, and he's trying to address this situation with love.
Yeah.
First off, before any other way of addressing it. So I think he is a value to that family. It is his family.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that maybe she has just gotten away from seeing that he's a value. And maybe some of it is just that chemical imbalance that's throwing things off and giving her problems with really getting in touch with reality.
Okay.
But I don't know, because I don't I don't live within it.
We're not assuming one way or the other, but no matter which one it is, whether it's an actual break with reality or it's something else, there's someone who can help treat this and get her back to where she wants to be.
Yeah.
So the question is, do you want to be back there? And if you don't want to be back there, okay, I respect that. You're an adult. I can't be this other place with you. It's not working for me.
Yeah.
It's not working for me. It's not working for the kids. We're going to go on to other pastures.
Yeah. So,
Angie, handled.
We got a BB in that one. Let me reload. Should we do one more of these, or should we wrap it up after we're 2 hours and 11 minutes in?
I mean, we're 2:11 in. What's the difference? We get to 2:20. Let's get the last one out of the way.
Okay. This one is, let me think of what we're going to call this gentleman. Let's call him the Banshee.
The Banshee.
All right?
They were screaming like banshees. Yeah, go ahead.
Banshee, solid dude.
Okay.
Friendly guy. He's a guy who's always got a smile on his face. You know, he's a worker. I've never been on a site with him at any point where he didn't work, you know, all day long. He's solid.
Okay.
But he's having some trouble right now.
Okay.
The Banshee, from what he's told me, he called me up looking for some work because he was in a situation where he was really getting treated like a jerk off.
Okay.
At I guess his last job. I didn't really get into too much of the details with him.
Yeah.
But him and his child's mother have split.
Okay.
And I believe they have 2 kids.
Okay.
I'm not sure that he has 2 or 3 kids. But splits from his child's mother, winds up back at his parents' house.
Okay.
Doesn't have solid work.
Right.
Doesn't have a home. Doesn't have his relationship. So this guy's down on his luck, right?
Yeah.
He's having a struggle, and I tried to kind of say to him. He made mention of trying to scrounge up like some odd job, like some side jobs for himself, basically. I said, I think it's a phenomenal idea. If you can do it.
Do it.
Like right now, if you're not working, get out and chase, bro.
Yeah.
Chase jobs wherever which way you can, because you need the money coming in as big of sums as you can get.
Yeah.
Like you don't need oh, hey, here's your $500 paycheck this week. You need like, oh, I can make $500 in 2 days painting this house.
Right.
Let me do that.
Go paint a house.
You know?
Yeah.
And if I'm not painting a house, then I got to, after I'm done painting the house, I got to hop in the car and go do Uber Eats.
Right.
You know, and get the money that way because.
Does he do landscaping at all?
He probably could.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
We could see what we could do.
All right.
And he's just he's switched, right? From being this happy-go-lucky, like, you know, God's on my side, the world's generally a good place kind of guy, to like, he's really not that same dude that I kind of knew.
Sure.
And he's, you know, he's kind of moping and a little bit of like,
I mean,
I don't know what he at one point told me he was thinking of going out to Broadway and selling his ass.
Okay.
Now, I got to be honest with you. I don't think he's gonna get too far with that one. But I also didn't knock that idea out of the sky.
You gotta hustle.
You know, you gotta get it where you could get it there, babe.
Sure.
So the Banshee is just feels like there's just a shit show on top of him.
Okay. Right. And it's breaking him.
And it is breaking him. It has changed him from the happy-go-lucky guy that I know, to a guy who's not so happy-go-lucky.
So this is, you know, this is your depressed person, not necessarily depression, but depressed.
Yeah.
Right? Everything is going wrong, and then you get to a point where, well, if everything's going wrong, what's the point in even trying anything in the first place? So I don't know Banshee well enough to say this, but unfortunately for Banshee, or fortunately, I don't know, this is going to take an intervention from outside sources to help him. There's going to have to be, I was going to ask you if you saw the movie, but I assume you didn't. There's going to have to be
Smart move.
Somebody who kind of comes in and grabs him by his ass and says, look, I get it. You're down. You have a lot of reasons to be down, but you got a lot of reasons to be up. Let's go the fuck out right now and, you know, do X, Y, Z to make you feel a little bit better about yourself.
Yeah.
You're living with your parents, which after a certain age, especially if you've been out, feels like that's got to be the worst fucking thing in the world. Like, that's the admission that you've failed. is now you have to live with your mommy and daddy again.
Yeah.
So that immediately puts you in a fucking bad place. And then I'm assuming he's not seeing his kids as much as he'd like to. He doesn't, like, broke up with the ex, so that's probably not of his concern. But I'm sure, as exes tend to do, there's some kind of laying into him for his current situation by the ex.
Yeah.
So he's going to keep sinking. And I'm not saying somebody has to save him, but somebody has to kind of intervene and just give him a little taste of, okay, I can, if I suck it up, I can pull my shit back together and get back out on the road.
So what happens? What's that look like? What does that look like if I'm the guy who's going to intervene?
If you're the guy who's going to intervene, I would assume that it looks something along the lines of, and I don't know what your schedule is like right now, but I threw in the landscaping thing as a half a joke. But listen, I want you to go out to my buddy's house, take a look at what he needs done, and if you can handle it, he's going to pay you. So let me get you this gig on the strength of my name, and when you make this couple bucks for a day's work, you're going to feel like, oh yeah, I can put my back into it and get some money and get this thing rolling the right way again. So then, there's that. And then there's, the next day is, hey, look, you did the landscaping thing. You made your money. I got this lady who needs her house painted, and I fucking hate painting houses. So I will give you a cut of what you do. You go in there, you do the good job I'm familiar with you doing, and we're going to get you some money. And by the end of this week, we're going to have you up $1,000. And just holding that $1,000 at the end of the week, even if your hands are calloused, is going to be like, okay, I do have the capability of putting this all back together. And it's not always going to be from leaning on Sean, but I remember that I can do this, and I can make this work, and I can get out of my parents' house in 5 months, and I can get to seeing my kids every other weekend again, and not feeling like I don't want to see them because I can't take them out for pizza and I'm going to feel like an asshole.
Right.
So it's that sort of stuff. Just the things that can remind him that as much as this sucks right now, you can get to a better place.
We can get up out of it.
And you can get up out of it without too much external, like you can get up out of it on your own. You don't necessarily need society pulling you back up. You just need a friend or two to give you a boost so you can reach the ladder.
Yeah. And I think that is the case. I won't say what in order to keep his anonymity.
Yeah, it's the banshee.
Yeah, if I say it, then
it gives it away.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've tried to play my part up to this point as far as that's concerned, and we'll see if I can play my part a little bit further.
Right.
Because he's a fucking great guy to be around when he's up. He's a real good guy.
Then he's worth trying to get him up again.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's what I do.
Yeah, it really is what you do, which is very foreign to me because it's not at all what I do, but it definitely is what you do.
I'm out here to just listen. I am out here to be the sun and shed light on the planets that circle around me, however that may look. I also once heard that I don't know how much this associates with this, what we're discussing, but a light is worthless if it's not plugged into anything, right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So I plug myself in, or I be the plug for those lights to plug into so that they can be worth something on their own, I guess. I don't know.
No point in shining if you're not shining on someone.
Yeah. I think a lot of it comes some of it is from my character, and I think some of that character is forged out of fire.
All of it.
Being
100%
into situations where it was vital to lean on somebody or have somebody lean on me or lean on each other to kind of push through all of it.
Your entire attitude is at first jarring, and then you talk with you for a little bit and you hear your story and you're like, oh, this all makes perfect fucking sense.
Right. I'm jarring?
Yeah, because so first of all, you're a construction worker. Second of all, you're Italian. Third of all, you're a rapper or were a rapper.
I was a rapper.
So this combination of things, you would expect sort of a gruff, maybe edged, angry kind of guy. And you come in and you're genuinely like up. Like, hey, it's a beautiful day. I would love to come and talk to you about your day.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, oh, this is one of those fucking fake guys who's just pretending to be up so he can get to work. And then you talk with you for like 10, 15 minutes. You're like, oh, no.
This asshole really is happy.
This is how this motherfucker is. I don't want him at my house anymore.
That's the last time he does baseboard around here.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you're genuinely carved out of your experience, and you lived all these things, terrible or not, that make you feel like, you know what? If I'm up, the people around me feel like they're more up.
Yeah.
And we can all be up together. Let's go.
Yeah, there's enough room above us.
Plenty of room up, yeah.
Yeah, there's enough room above us for everybody to be there.
Yep.
All right, well, we solved some issues. We solved some world issues.
Hopefully.
We solved some personal issues.
Definitely.
I believe we solved some grocery issues.
I think we are going to.
Yeah. I think we finally got a new business. We haven't had one since we were forcing kids to do slave labor.
Well, and loud porn.
Well, that was before slave labor.
Oh, okay.
But slave labor was our last business idea. Now we got one that's a little bit more...
It's a little more viable.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit more...
We won't have to leave the country to execute this one.
Yeah. Also, we're going to have to pay minimum wage.
Yeah.
But I think that this one might make enough money that we can...
cover our expenses.
Work around that.
All right.
We did, on a sadder note, seem to have missed the BMX Olympic event.
I didn't see it come on.
But
it's very possible they were sticking with the volleyball.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on. I'll search. I'm sure I can catch
you with the replay.
Yeah, I'm sure I can catch the playback somewhere. But more importantly, I'm about to go to sleep so I can get to the street BMX Olympics tomorrow, because that's what's important to the kid.
That's right.
This was another long, drawn-out, successful episode of the Gig Podcast, live on a Friday night. If you quit fucking around and let me be able to sign in to my YouTube page, maybe I could get some shit done where we break this down into clips and distribute them fucking appropriately.
No one's stopping you from
finding out my own password.
Yeah, I know. That you created on your own.
I know. I need a person. I need a PA.
Yeah, you do. We talked about this. You need an intern.
Yeah, I do. So that's what we're gonna end with. If you are looking for an internship with a guy who is gruff at first, but then generally happy, also an idea man,
right?
Is working on building a career on coming up with ideas,
right? Multicultural ideas.
Multicultural ideas. Who knows better than anyone how to pack a schedule for the week, because
you were a single mom for a little while.
I was, and if you stay busy, you can't get into trouble,
and you can't think about your pain,
and you can't think about how bad it hurts to be alive. So, that being said, if that sounds like something you're interested, please reach out to me at cove@paydayjones.com or payday@paydayjones.com. But he'd probably rather you don't use him as a buffer.
No, I'm good. Like, honestly, I'm good.
Oh, all of a sudden you want to be social?
Oh, on the emails? Absolutely. I'll talk to you all day long if we're typing about it.
As long as you don't try to FaceTime him,
don't
call him on the phone.
No.
Listen, I'll tell you firsthand, Payday's not into a phone call.
I will assume that it is an emergency if you call me, regardless.
I don't call you unless it is an emergency.
You call me 2 PM on a Tuesday like a normal person would, and I'm just going to figure what's on fire and how can I help.
Yeah. So, if that sounds like something that you're into, that's where you could find us. You could find us right here every Friday night, wherever you're watching us now, or wherever you have watched the replay, whether it be on YouTube at the Gig Podcast channel, on Twitch, the Gig Podcast, or on the Sean Cove Facebook page. You could even catch the audio-only episodes on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever else you're into listening to your podcasts at. We release a podcast live every Friday night, and then there's a new audio podcast, usually a previous one, released on Wednesday mornings at 7 a.m. each week. We are trying to grow this thing the best we can. Me and Payday and a whole bunch of other people believe we really got something here, so what we need from you is a quick share. Tell a friend. Maybe tell your coworkers. This is a good talk show for your ride into work or your ride home. Tell them about it. Tell them where to find us. Tell them that if they like a little bit of talk radio, this is the place to come do it at. That's all I got. Payday, you got anything to add, good sir?
That was perfect.
All right. So we will catch you right here the same time, 9 p.m., live next week. And go rate or review us or leave a comment somewhere. Help it out, man. Let's get this fucking algorithm thing popping. We out of here.